While all eyes have been focused on Iran this week, President Trump made clear that he is operating on a grander theater of war. Here's what the president said. I'm surprised that Zelensky doesn't want to make a deal. Tell Zelensky to make a deal because Putin's willing to make a deal. Zelensky is far more difficult to deal with. The president just told you who is blocking the peace. And this week, Russia's foreign ministry took it a step higher and laid the blame directly on the British. Two great powers pointing in the same direction. That is not a coincidence. That is the sound of the British imperial chessboard being flipped over. So today I'm going to take you out of the fog of the immediate war and all the propaganda around Iran and show you how the strategic map of the entire world is being redrawn in real time by sovereign nations acting in their own interests for the first time in 80 years. Now, the establishment media wants you totally focused on Iran, whether it's the CNN narrative that Trump doesn't have a plan and we're in for chaos, or the Fox narrative that he's out for regime change, or that this is a masterstroke against Russia and China. They want you trapped in their narrative. What they don't want you to see is the big picture. They're reporting from inside the old paradigm. But if you zoom out, you'll see something entirely different. This week, the outlines of a new world order, a real one, not Mark Carney's, began to emerge. Great powers acting in their own sovereign interests, converging against the forces of permanent manufactured conflict. I'm Susan Kokinda. I've tracked the imperial great game for decades, not the puppet show and the headlines, but the real architecture of power. The empire doesn't fight its own wars. It manages them. It needs great powers in permanent conflict because that's what keeps it in control. What we are now seeing is that architecture beginning to fail on every front simultaneously. So if you want to understand how that is unfolding, please hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons so we can stay in touch and we can reach more people. Here's what I'm going to cover today. First, Trump's identification of Zelensky as the obstacle to peace, with a side note on Israel. Second, Russia's identification of Britain as the obstacle to peace. And third, what Russia and China didn't do in the UN Security Council and what it means. So let's start with what the president actually told us this week. Because in the same 7 days, Donald Trump drew a line on the record in his own words, separating American objectives from the agendas of two of the empire's most important instruments. And most people missed it because they were watching two different stories instead of one. So on Ukraine, you already heard what he told NBC. Putin is willing to make a deal. Zelensky is the obstacle. But there's a second quote from that same interview that is just as important. When Zelensky offered to help the United States intercept Iranian drones, Trump's response was immediate. Zelensky is the last person we need help from. Let that land. The man whose war the entire transatlantic establishment has demanded America fund, arm, and defend at any cost, Trump just told you he's the last person whose help he wants. Now turn to Iran. In the same week at Joint Base Andrews, a reporter asked the president directly whether American objectives in Iran are the same as Israel's. And here's what the president said.
Are you speaking with Prime Minister Netanyahu? And are your objectives the same in terms of ending the war?
I think they might be a little different, I guess. You know, they're a different country than we are.
Then Defense Secretary Hegseth said the same thing. When asked about Israel striking Iranian oil facilities, which was not a stated American objective, Hegseth said,
well, I would just state by saying Israel's been a really strong partner in this effort. Where they have different objectives, they've pursued them. Ultimately, we've stayed focused on ours.
So on two different fronts, Ukraine and Iran, the U.S. is pursuing its own objectives. On Ukraine, Trump is saying that Putin is the reasonable party and Zelensky is the obstacle. On Iran, Trump is telling Netanyahu, whose war aims include permanent regime change and an indefinite timeline, that America has different objectives. And President Trump has already acted on that difference, sending Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner to Israel after they bombed an oil refinery to tell Israel to stop hitting domestic economic targets. The U.S. wants a stable Iran with a functioning economy when the fighting is over. These are not mixed messages. This is a president refusing on both fronts to be managed by the empire's pawns. And Russia just gave the empire a name. But before I get to that, if you're finding this kind of analysis, that is the real architecture behind the headlines, useful, then you need to be subscribed to Promethean Action's free newsletter. We've been tracking the imperial great game for decades, and right now, that work has never mattered more. So use the link in the description to sign up for our newsletter. So while President Trump was identifying Zelensky as the obstacle to peace, the Russian Foreign Ministry took it a step higher. On March 10th, British Storm Shadow missiles struck a civilian district of Bryansk in Russia. 7 people killed, dozens were wounded. Russia's foreign ministry did not issue a generic condemnation of Western aggression. They named the British directly. They said, "It is evident that Britain has become deeply entangled in geopolitical games, seeking to strengthen its status as the informal leader of European hawks on the Ukrainian track and as Russia's irreconcilable adversary." And then they accused Britain of sabotaging the American-led peace process. We have also noted that British weapons were used at a time when political and diplomatic efforts to settle the Ukrainian crisis in the trilateral Russia-US-Ukraine format are intensifying. The obvious goal of London and other Western capitals is to stage a large-scale provocation involving civilian casualties in order to derail the peace process and escalate hostilities. Russia is naming Britain by name. Chatham House, the empire's premier foreign policy think tank, came out and bluntly admitted it with the headline, "Europe is helping Ukraine resist a U.S. push for peace at any price." Britain's own brain trust has stated its mission openly: prevent the President of the United States from ending this war. Then look at what Zelensky did in the same week. He threatened the life of Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, a sitting EU head of state. Zelensky told a government meeting that he would give Orban's address to Ukrainian soldiers so they could, in his words, call him and speak with him in their own language. This was so outrageous that even the European Union had to denounce Zelensky, stating that the type of language used yesterday by President Zelensky is not acceptable. There must be no threats against EU member states. And even Orban's main political opponent in Hungary, who is running against him in next month's elections, demanded that Zelensky apologize to all Hungarian citizens. Think about what you just witnessed. The empire's primary instrument in Europe, the leader it spent 3 years portraying as a heroic defender of Western democracy, threatening to have a NATO ally's head of government killed, and the empire's own European Union institutions had to publicly repudiate him. Britain is now named as the opponent of peace. Zelensky is increasingly isolated even within his own alliance. Now put that in context of what happened at the UN. On March 11th, the United Nations Security Council voted on a resolution brought by the Gulf states and others, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Jordan, condemning Iran's missile and drone attacks on their territories. 135 nations co-sponsored it. The resolution passed 13-0, which means that Russia abstained and China abstained. Neither used their veto. Now, the mainstream media barely reported this, but I want you to understand what it actually means, because you won't understand it if you're in the old geopolitical world that gives you headlines that portray Russia and China as locked into their support for Iran, as this one on Fox does, or as the Ukrainian press continues to try and portray Iran, Russia, and China as the new axis of evil. But every rule of the old Cold War playbook, the binary the empire has relied on for 80 years, by those rules, Russia and China should have vetoed this resolution. That's what the script called for: protect your partner, block the Western initiative, keep the great powers in their assigned corners. But they didn't. This is a new strategic reality, one in which nations are taking themselves off the British geopolitical chessboard. And if you're paying attention to what President Trump said on March 13th, you'll actually see it in action. He was asked if Russia was helping Iran.
You think Putin is helping them?
I think he might be helping them a little bit, yeah, I guess. And he probably thinks we're helping Ukraine, right?
And you are, right?
Yeah, we're helping them also. And so he says that. And China would say the same thing. It's like, hey, they do it and we do it, in all fairness. They do it and we do it.
Think about that. The President of the United States just placed America, Russia, and China on the same plane of sovereign nations acting in their own interests. Not enemies locked in permanent ideological combat. Countries that do what they do in their own interests and deal with each other on that basis. And he didn't just say it, he acted on it. The United States has announced a temporary lifting of sanctions on Russian oil stranded at sea in order to stabilize the energy markets roiled by the Iran war. And when he was asked about China, Iran's largest trading partner, Trump didn't threaten Beijing. He said the United States' efforts to keep the Strait of Hormuz open was in China's interest too. That is the sovereign realism at the heart of the administration's national security strategy and national defense strategy. Both of those new doctrines explicitly reject the post-war paradigm of permanent great power conflict. Now, connect this to everything we've covered today. Trump telling NBC that Putin wants peace and Zelensky is the obstacle. Trump telling the press that American objectives in Iran are different from Israel's. Russia naming Britain as the saboteur of the peace channel. And Russia and China declining to shield Iran's destabilizing behavior against sovereign Arab nations. What you're looking at is the same thing. Great powers, the United States, Russia, China, beginning to act on converging sovereign interests rather than playing their assigned roles in someone else's great game. This is the new strategic map being redrawn. And the empire, whose entire system depends on keeping great powers in permanent conflict, has no moves left that don't accelerate its own exposure. Now, Promethean action is doing
And so you have these people, you have Mark Levin, you have Bibi Netanyahu, they just keep saying these things over and over again. It's an incantation. It's witchcraft.
Yes.
Basically witchcraft. That's what it is. It's not goofy. It's not weird stuff. It's witchcraft. That's how words work. You repeat them over and over. It's like a spell. Repeating words over and over again. It's like Elphaba from Wicked. She was the Wicked Witch of the West.
Right, yes.
And what these people are doing in my country are becoming the Wicked Witch of Western hegemony. That's what's happening.
That's what they do.
It's basically Elphaba from Wicked. She was a witch.
I mean...
So if you care to find me, look towards the Western Wall. Tell them how
Tucker.
I'm defying sanity. I'm flying high, defying sanity. Okay, let's bring it back to some domestic... Wait, it's the best part. Ready?
Wow.
And so that's what's going on. It's not weird stuff at all.
Yeah, no, it's not weird at all. All right, well, thanks for being here. Welcome back anytime.
Hello?
Hey.
Hello, you there?
Hey, it's me.
Hey, honey, you okay? Something wrong? What happened? Meg?
I f***ed up.
Tucker did his whole thing again on the show?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I don't know what to do.
I think at this point you just have to double down, baby.
Yeah, I know.
Okay? You got this. I'll see you at home, okay?
Stupid. Okay.
My next guest is Carrie Brigitte Baller.
Oh my God, I wasn't ready for that.
Gotcha.
Oh, that was classic. I love it.
I had to sneak that one in there.
You did a good job. I got tears in my eyes.
I was hoping to kickstart the show with some Promethean, following up on the Promethean, but I was like, no. We missed yesterday, and I think I owed you a laugh. So
Yeah, well, that was good. That was really good. I got tears in my eyes.
I think he nailed the Tucker. Holy crap, he nailed it. The laugh.
Oh, did he ever?
I
showed something interesting in my chat the other night about Tucker.
Yeah.
That it's we're going after the media.
Oh.
Yeah, I proved it. I think I proved it.
Well, you got me thinking so differently now with this the possibility here of the chaos theory that I'm not even willing to rule out the possibility because has Trump even ever really mentioned Tucker? Has he brought him up in a post or anything?
Tucker's been conveniently at the White House at some key moments.
And his son is in Vance's
team.
Vance's
team, right?
So
but I was showing something when obviously Tucker was at the executive meeting for the for the oil execs.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Venezuelan
right.
oil.
Yes.
He was there, and I showed a picture that the AP captured. And the look on Tucker's face was unbelievable. I mean, it was a major middle finger.
Yeah.
Then, of course, he was there at the Oval Office just a few days later, like a week later.
Yeah.
Do you know who else was in the Oval Office with him?
Who?
Marco Rubio, Susie Wiles, and Ellen Dershowitz.
The Dershmeister.
Yeah, they're all in there together.
Oh, boy.
So Susie's shaking Dershowitz's hand, and I'll have to show you the picture, I guess, but I'm pretty sure that's Dershowitz. And Tucker is yucking it up with Marco Rubio, and they're both smiling. So Tucker, who's anti-Israel, Rubio, who's pro-Israel, Dershowitz, who's pro-Israel, Trump, who's pro-Israel. What do you think was going on in that meeting?
Is Trump even really pro-Israel?
Yeah, he is. He always has been.
Because I saw an interesting post back in, October? It was very interesting of Trump. Let's see. I think I simply typed in chaos theory in the search. Oh, I spelled chaos wrong.
It helps if you spell correctly.
And yeah, it was last October. Based on the statement just issued by Hamas, I believe they are ready for lasting peace. Israel must immediately stop bombing of Gaza so that we can get hostages out safely and quickly. Right now, it's far too dangerous to do that. We are already in discussions on details to be worked out. This is not about Gaza alone. This is about long-sought peace in the Middle East. So he's not really directly calling out Israel, but...
Okay, so do you remember when Trump said also that we were given Israel the intel?
On Hamas?
On the movement in the area, yes.
I think so.
You remember when Trump said then he gave Hamas 10 days?
Hamas. 10 days, yes. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, okay, now I remember. Yep.
Yeah. And then exactly 10 days later, we had a strike by Israel.
Oh, so indicator.
He gave them breathing room to do the right thing, and they chose not to. For whatever reason, we can go down that path again if you'd like, but they're a proxy state, right? To Iran.
Yes.
Who was a proxy to who?
Yep. City of London.
Mm-hmm. So what he did is, and you can, if you go back, even into his first term, he provided many off ramps, and they consistently chose not to take it.
Interesting. And I hate to keep bringing it up, but the whole saving Israel for last is a suggestion to me that it's not really necessarily Trump, but the aspects of our military or military intelligence they see that there's a problem. It's hard to figure out what that problem is with Israel. And I do suspect at some point it's going to be rectified. Now, with that said, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised, kind of, piggybacking off your theory of chaos theory, that could be what we're seeing, the doomers and this, anti-Israel crowd maybe lending to that.
Okay, so you're going to see that in the public.
Yeah.
What you're more looking for...
Like Trump could be using this strategically.
You're more looking for any fragmentation that's happening within the administration.
which we just
Joe
saw
Kent,
today, right?
If Joe Kent is an outlier,
Mm-hmm.
this will blow over pretty quickly. And signs are showing, because Tulsi Gabbard's response
You saw that.
also makes him an outlier. But I'm also going to put out, he did the Ireland guide today.
Yep.
Because of the date that you're not properly dressed.
No.
You knew I had.
Yeah,
consider that your
I was waiting for that. Yeah.
But and I dropped a piece in there because Trump was asked a question. In fact, I said to you, go to the 5-minute mark on the video.
Oh yes.
Wait a minute. Let me pull it back down.
What?
'Cause it was fire. He made a comment that I think a lot of people, I'm pulling it back down for you.
By the way, welcome in everybody. And Shayla says, Shayla 777 says, I study quantum chaos in microbiology. First of all, shout out to you, Shayla. So I can totally see how chaos theory is being implemented in the macro, she says.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I was concerned when I presented that to you on Friday night that it would I would not be able to describe it properly, because I know that first of all, it's a completely different way of thinking, which challenges people right from the jump. But then and I don't want to, I'm not being condescending, but did I dumb it down enough for those who had never thought that way?
Yeah, I think so. I think it might need, just for polishing, it might need some addressing and maybe trying to poke holes through it.
Well, we did that the next night in my chat, just so you know.
Oh, good.
And actually, for a couple of nights now, we've been doing it. And I actually tried to show a real world example when I dissected a post by General Flynn to show how that fits into the theory. And it's not that chaos theory is a bad thing. It's a way of studying systems.
Historically, or it has seemed like it's a bad thing historically because it's
of the word chaos.
Yeah, and the Hegelian nature of it. Problem.
But it's a way of studying what makes a system collapse. In fact, the whole butterfly effect is from studying weather. So, so kudos to Shayla for doing that, saying that, because thank you, I needed that. But when you apply the techniques to what you're watching, an entirely different understanding begins to emerge, and it completely tosses all of the rhetoric.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that hit a little stronger for some people.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. Let me say hello to everybody. Welcome in, all you beautiful badass patriots. And thank you for joining us, Shayla, Kevin, Sober Lady, PL Baldry, Liberty Leeway, Gigi been working it, Snackums, Danishell, God bless. Also, over there in Pilled, welcome Marissa, Timothy Nortoni, Fact Finder, Chris Doom. We got time for Tammy. Sean Joe, thank you for the cookie. Shout out to Sean Joe. Actually, Just Fed Up is the one who started off the show with a cookie. Hey, thank you, Just Fed Up. God bless. Thank you and shout out to Dixie. God bless you so much, Dixie. Thank you for the phone call. And Maya Tua, thank you for the can. And then Sean Joe wrapped up the gold pills with a can, followed up by that cookie. So thank you so much, fam, for your continued contributions. And all right, so there was the Trump presser.
He did a presser. If you go to the 5 minutes in that video, he's asked a question, obviously, about what's going on. His response is something important to hear, especially in light of what the Promethean lady said yesterday.
Of our NATO.
With Ukraine and the funding.
You said at the 5 minute mark?
Yeah, it's about the 5 minute mark. 5 minute, 8 seconds, 10 seconds, something like that.
All right, you wanna play it? Shall I play it?
Can.
Well, I can play it. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
I guess I'm accustomed to you doing it.
All right. So this is the presser from earlier today. I swear he just had a presser and a meeting in the Oval Office with this guy, didn't he? Just recently?
I don't remember. I don't remember him
Or was that
meeting.
the German chancellor?
Yeah.
I thought it was the. Yeah, it was this guy. It
Was
this
it?
guy. Yeah, when he was calling out Spain.
You know what? You're right. I forgot about that.
All right, let's check this out, shall we? And then we'll talk about it.
Fantastic success.
Great success.
It's a very, that's a very hard course.
What progress have you made, Mr. President, in getting America's allies to assist the U.S. in escorting those oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, we don't need too much help, and we don't need any help, actually. In fact, we just put out a notice. I was watching over the last couple of weeks, and all of our NATO allies were very much in favor of what we did. They thought it was very important. We were just discussing it, actually. Very important that we take out the nuclear threat from Iran, and we've done that very strongly, very powerfully. We've wiped out their navy, wiped out
Pause
their
that for a
military.
second. So if there was a fatwa signed in 2003 prohibiting nuclear weapons, what was the nuclear threat we took out in June?
Why do I want to say the city of London?
The obvious question becomes, and it was a video that I also showed you, I pulled it forward, said, do you remember this guy when he said the hardliners are waiting for the old guy to kick the bucket so they could do what? Reverse the fatwa. Who has been Khomeini's back channel?
Putin, I suspect. As
Yeah,
well
a
as
little bit of
Trump's.
China, but mostly Putin.
So this attack, this latest military operation, would have to be to take out the Iranian National Guard or the IRGC.
The IRGC. Well, the question becomes, if you listen to Marco Rubio, there was an imminent threat, which Joe Kent completely disagrees with. But if there's an imminent threat, and according to Rubio, they were going to barrage the region with ballistic missiles. Reports are that they were making them faster than anybody could keep count. They were going to barrage the region with ballistic missiles as cover for restarting the nuclear program. What does that tell you about Khomeini?
He was stopping it. He was preventing
Either
it from happening.
Khomeini was dead
or he
under
died,
control.
or he was okay. Yeah.
Before we attacked. Because if they were waiting for the old guy to kick the bucket to reverse the fatwa.
So for anyone who doesn't know, and I'm just going to assume that there might be a few people out there in the chat that doesn't know what Feisty means by fatwa.
It's a religious law.
It's essentially an edict, a religious edict that says that they will not create any nuclear weapons. Then, okay, if I'm a member of the audience, Feisty, I'm going to say, okay, so then why were they always threatening to create and launch nukes then? Even
Okay,
with
so
the
one of
fatwa
the
in place?
problems that you have over the years is we've kind of looked the other way many times, but they had gotten their enrichment beyond the need for a source of energy up to what they claimed was for medical purposes up to 60%.
Medical
from
and
60
energy purposes, maybe?
Well, it didn't take much from that percentage to become weaponized. So they brought it up to the 60, waiting for Khomeini to die so they could reverse the fatwa. And literally probably within a month at least, they would have had a weaponized nuclear
Was he
process.
receiving outside pressure from individuals or a group of individuals to allow for the nuclear proliferation?
Right.
That's kind of my suspicion, that somebody was putting pressure on him to allow
No, if he, because his fatwa
Yep.
I don't know that. I mean, haven't we learned anything that the head of state doesn't normally have complete control over the bureaucracy
That's essentially what I'm getting
below
at.
them?
Right.
So,
But in order for them to complete the proliferation, he would have needed to have kicked the bucket.
Well, because they're a theocracy.
What's
so
a
they
theocracy?
respected him, a religious government.
State, yep.
Okay, so it's a religious state. So as a theocracy, they were adhering to his desire. He said there was no moral justification for nuclear weapons, which is the genesis of that fatwa, which, by the way, Tulsi Gabbard told the truth about to Congress.
Love Tulsi.
So Trump said, and remember when they were planning the June strike, Tulsi wasn't in that planning, remember?
Yeah, she was left out of the loop.
She was uncharacteristically absent from that planning.
Well, she was arguably working on election.
Arguably whatever, but you would think the head of your national intelligence would be.
Which suggests to me that Trump's got a back channel.
Not only does he have a back channel, but he's also not needing to use the intelligence system that's in place. And if you go back through the Q posts, how do you get around the 3-letter agencies? You build your back channels. Right? I mean, that's the purpose of back channels. Kennedy was famous for using back channels.
Yep. And they found out about those back channels.
They found out about those back channels.
But this also, the first thought that just entered my mind was that email that you showed everybody between Epstein and Mohammed bin Salman's go-between, which suggests some sort of back channel.
They all use a back channel because they try to keep themselves out of the public view.
Especially when you have a deep state that's present. Yes.
Exactly.
You would need to. You don't even know who's in your cabinet or in the, so.
Especially if your cabinet is derived by intelligence community suggestions, right?
Yep.
And Trump has kind of alluded to that many times. He was highly suggested by, when he nominates people.
Right.
So I'm pointing out that this whole nuclear issue with Iran is something deeper than what we're hearing. Okay. If there wasn't now, like I had shown you, there had been reports out of the region for well over a year that Khomeini's health was failing. And we only found out that he, quote, died last week when there was a bomb sent into the middle of his compound.
Which the only person to confirm it was Trump.
Well, the only one.
He's literally the only person to have confirmed it.
Which, I'll be real honest, looked symbolic. But nevertheless, I'm just going to take it as it is. Yeah. But if they were that close to being able to develop a nuclear weapon before his death, and they were waiting for him to die to reverse the fatwa so they could do it, it makes sense why we went in June, whether he was dead or not. Now, if Rubio is talking about them using a barrage of ballistic missiles as cover for restarting their program, then you got to ask the question. I don't know what they were restarting it with if we supposedly took everything out, but that barrage of missiles is an imminent threat. I don't care what anybody says.
Yep, you're right.
I mean, you're talking millions and millions of people in harm's way.
Yep.
For this, and they're not judicious where those bombs go. They may want to strike specific targets, but they love taking out civilians in the process because they know the threat of going after civilians tends to or typically brings a country to toe. And that was their intent. So it begs the question, was Khomeini already dead in June? Or did he die between June and the end of February? But it seems like that was the impetus. That was the imminent threat.
I have a feeling he died probably right before the attacks, somewhere between the last 10 days before the first attack or the first launch.
Back in June or the one at the end of February? February. I agree with you. So let's talk about Joe Kent then, because I think that's important. He claimed there was no imminent threat. Well, who the hell are you?
Mm.
You have an intelligence community for a reason.
What was his position again?
He was the director of the National Counterterrorism Center.
Okay.
So his job was to assess these threats.
So he kind of would know, I suppose.
He should know, yes.
Well, I grabbed this from...
That's from his campaign.
Which was October 7th, 2023. So
Right.
a couple years ago. But just to give you an idea of his view, he condemns the attacks on Israel. This was, as a result of the October 7th. So
This is the October 7th massacre,
he posted
yes.
this on the day of October 7th.
Right.
Battleground Washington, Joe Kent made the following statement. I am saddened and angered by the violent attacks against our ally Israel. Hamas. Shall we replace Hamas with Iran?
Yeah.
Hamas is...
Well, you can do that with Hezbollah. You could do that
Right.
with ISIS. You could do that with the Houthis.
Their unprecedented violence was made possible by the Biden administration providing the number one state sponsor of terror $6 billion and sending over $300 million of our tax dollars to assist terrorists in Gaza. Biden has consistently enabled Iran and its proxies to indiscriminately attack Israeli civilians. That's interesting. I thought there wasn't no immediate threat. Marie Perez did not condemn Rep. Pramila Jayapal when she labeled Israel a, quote, racist state, and she refused to remove the anti-Semitic Rep. Ilhan Omar from the House Foreign Affairs Committee. When I get to Congress, I will not authorize 1 cent of financial aid to Iran or Hamas. Ooh, and I will make sure Israel gets the weaponry they need to keep themselves secure. That's an interesting statement.
It's an interesting statement because he is now saying there was no imminent threat, and he would have been in a position to point to that.
And you see what Chris Doom just said? Thank you, Chris, for the cookie.
Where his wife was CIA.
His wife was CIA.
She
and
was
worked for Max Blumenthal.
He was a linguist. That was hint. And Max Blumenthal, I didn't know that part. Thank you, Chris. But,
yeah.
But what I'm getting at is, regardless of his background, regardless of his principled position, it isn't his call.
Mm.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is not his call. You have an entire intel community. There's always going to be diverging opinions. It's up to the president to codify all those opinions with his national security advisors to determine what the actual threat is, if any. So shame on him for doing this, which is what you would call in chaos theory a butterfly effect. A simple thing creating an outcome that diverts the trajectory. And so what is it, in my view? And that's why I said now you got to listen to the rest of this, because he tied in Ukraine in here. Listen to where else he goes. I had to stop with that part.
Okay, here we go.
Every aspect. Their Air Force is now decimated. They have no Air Force, no Navy. They have no radar. Their radar is entirely gone. Their anti-aircraft machinery is gone. Everything is gone. Their leaders are gone. I guess one of their top person was, they say, a lot of people say their actual top was killed yesterday, along with somebody else who was responsible for the killing, the man that was responsible for the killing of 32,000 people over the last 2 weeks. He was in charge of the killing of protesters. It's an evil group. I mean, they've killed much more than 32,000 people. And the man who was responsible for that was also killed yesterday. And all of the NATO allies agreed with us, but they don't want to, despite the fact that we help them so much, we have thousands of soldiers in different countries all over the world, and they don't want to help us, which is amazing. I mean, amazing. And I didn't do a full court press because I think if I did, they probably would be. But we don't need help. That war has been long prosecuted, as far as I'm concerned, almost from day one. We knocked out many of these things. We knocked out the Navy essentially in a couple of days. But I was surprised to see that NATO, while they agreed that it was a very important thing to do, they agree fully. Nobody said, oh, you shouldn't do it. They would have had a nuclear weapon within 1 month of when we had the B-2 bombers bomb the nuclear potential.
Why is that? Is that because Khomeini died and the fatwa was reversed? I suspect.
Do you see where my thought is coming in, though?
Yes.
When he makes comments like that, I'm sitting here going, I don't know that I'm off.
Yeah, and then
which would create an imminent threat.
Right, and then but your naysayers will say, but I thought you took it out in the operation before Trump, right? They
took out the nuclear. But like Rubio said, they were producing ballistic missiles at rates nobody could keep count of.
Wow.
And so I don't care if it's a nuclear bomb or a ballistic missile, on the other end is a dead soul.
Yeah.
And when you're barraging your neighbors with that many ballistic missiles, that's an imminent threat. I mean, what is so hard to figure out here?
I agree. I'm just reiterating what I think, the doomers, the naysayers will say.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I know very well aware, Crystal, that Kent's wife died, but she died in Syria.
She was a CIA operative.
She was a CIA operative who died in Syria. She didn't die in Iran, but yeah, she did die in combat. Anyways.
And, in Syria where we weren't supposed to be.
Yeah, we weren't supposed to be. And where
we
Assad...
We weren't on the ground there. There's your hint.
And where Assad never gassed his own people.
Right.
I call it the nuclear dust. I think NATO's making a very foolish mistake. And I've long said that, I wonder whether or not NATO would ever be there for us. So this was a great test, because we don't need them, but they should have been there. The other thing is, and I think, very important, we didn't have to be there for Ukraine. Biden chose to spend hundreds of billions of dollars on Ukraine. And I guess the head of Germany just made a statement that, they weren't involved and they have nothing to do with the war. But at the same time, they think we did a great thing by knocking them out. Nobody wants to have Iran, or anybody, but nobody wants to have Iran with a nuclear, because these people are crazy. They're absolutely crazy, and they're vicious, violent. I mean, they kill.
About the IRGC, I assume, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Think of it. They killed, now I hear it's about 41,000 people. They put out a notice 2 days.
Before you get confused in his seemingly disjointed rhetoric, didn't you catch where he's connecting Ukraine and Iran together?
Yeah.
He's putting them in the same basket.
Yeah. Where else did I hear that recently?
And what did he say? We gave them $350 billion. What happened with the cash, he goes?
Oh, I know where I saw it. It was last night. I think it was, oh my gosh, mentioned during Laura Ingram's segment last night.
Mm-hmm.
I think they mentioned it, the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much, Catherine B, for the phone. Yay, it's Sean and Feisty. Someone is looking a mite bit older. Who's that, Catherine? Not me, right? Or maybe you are referring to me.
You just had a birthday. I mean, come on.
All right, that's fair. Thank you, Catherine. God bless. Thank you. Shout out to Aqualux. Good to see you, friend. Thank you for the cookie. It's a Feisty Diggs Tuesday. That's right, Aqualux. Good to see you guys.
So here's the thing.
Yep.
If you're looking at an IRGC that was funded through the shadow bank in London, right?
Mm-hmm.
An illicit shadow bank that the city of London just kind of casually looked the other way about all this time, claiming that they were using Zanjani as a honeypot to get intel, that we never seemed to actually get to the point of acting on that intel.
So,
but that was their excuse.
Just as a reminder for everybody, when you hear that name, Zanjani, that's the same guy who was imprisoned for, I think, 7 years.
Yeah, he was in prison.
He was in prison for 7 years.
He was on death row.
He was on death row in Iran for 7 years, got out, they let him go.
No, they commuted his sentence.
I'm sorry, they commuted his sentence. But
to 20 years.
Yeah.
In 2023.
But then let him go.
And then in 2025, January of 2025, They released him.
Just released him.
January, during or right before.
And what's he known for doing?
He was operating the City of London shadow government machine to fund the IRGC and proxy groups.
So there's that connection that many of you OGs that have been with us for a while know that I've been saying that I know there's a connection between the City of London and the IRGC. And if you don't know, anytime we say IRGC, we're essentially talking about the Iranian, essentially who Trump is, targeting.
That's who he's targeting.
Iran, right.
But, and you got to keep looking because in Lebanon, you got AHQA, that they're essentially taking the money from Zanjani's group and funding Hezbollah.
And they've been attacking.
So you can see how that just spreads out across the system.
And they've been attacking. Well, who has been attacking Lebanon lately? Because
Israel has been.
It's Israel? Okay. So maybe that's
we kind of gave Lebanon to Israel. But I will remind you, Lebanon has been helping Israel. So they're not working on their own. Lebanon is actually beginning to join the fight. So
they're caught in the middle.
Well, when you've got a captured government, it takes a little bit to get to the point where the government can actually stand up.
Right.
So what is really cool about what you're watching, though, because Trump just said to NATO, the NATO members,
"Yep,
what happened to all that money?" I'll remember. Because they don't suddenly want to help in the strait. But then that's where the pivot came from to Ukraine. What about all that money? They know we'll be there to defend them. We never expected them to be there to defend us.
Right.
In other words, we were just a wallet.
Oh, man.
And he also, if you continue that, you're going to have to watch this. He calls out Germany, Japan, and South Korea.
Jeez.
Those just happen to be the areas, and I put it in the folder, those just happen to be the three largest areas where we have a military presence. So he under no uncertain terms, in fact, I put in there, this is a huge threat. Under no uncertain terms, he signaled he's ready to pull out of NATO if they don't shape up.
Oh, good. I think that's imminent. Anyways.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree, but if you listen to what he just said, where'd all that money go? Mm-hmm. So I think what's really neat about what's happening is he's now extracting NATO from the City of London. They no longer have...
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, which is interesting because we usually associate NATO with the EU and or the United Kingdom.
And he loves Root, the guy that's in charge of NATO.
Root,
he's always had good things to say, which Mark Root today said, you guys are idiots. If you think we can defend ourselves without the United States, you're complete idiots. Mark Root just said that today.
Ooh, is that losing team theory, maybe?
Yeah, right?
Realizes you're on the losing team, so you probably ought to shape up or ship out.
Who's Mark Root talking to, though? He's not talking to
the City of
Brit.
London.
No, he's not.
No?
He's talking to Italy. He's talking to Germany.
So
he's
EU.
talking to the member states of NATO, absent the City of London.
Oh, man. And, shoot, because that's right. All right, so Zelensky just made a veiled threat towards Turkey.
Right.
And
Turkey's always sat on the fence.
What's his name? Orban. Viktor Orban?
Oh, that's Hungary.
I'm sorry, not so. It was the Turkey. Who's the Turkey leader there? Erdogan.
I don't know where
Erdogan. Is it Erdogan? Either way, he made a threat saying something about how he wants to. He would give his address to his military or something like that, and NATO came up and said there will absolutely be no threats made at a member of the EU or something like that, or a member of NATO. Anyways,
Because NATO will stand together, but I think what is notable when he called them idiots if they thought they could defend themselves without the U.S.,
Right.
he's telling the member states, stop listening to those jackasses. We need the U.S., and you better get lined up with America first. Which I found fascinating. When you're listening to a question about Iran, he brings in Ukraine and then says to NATO, what happened to all the money? Hopefully you can see that complete reconstruction of his otherwise discombobulated comments.
Well, that money probably went right to the city of London. Shadow banking.
Well, nobody knows where it went into somebody's pockets. We already knew the money wasn't making it to Ukraine. Zelensky told us that.
Just Fed Up says it was towards Orban of Hungary. So maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't Turkey. Maybe it was Hungary. Okay, interesting. Shall I continue playing?
I'm sorry?
Shall I continue playing?
No, you don't need to. You're going to want to watch it later, though.
Okay.
There's some really good comments made in that. This lines up when I said to you in the chat, do you see what's happening?
Yep.
And I dropped all 3 of those videos for you, but
okay.
I thought the Beck one was really good, too.
Yeah, I get that one, too. Last back, when Joe Kent went on Tucker's show in January 2024 and spewed a whole bunch of nonsense about what a war with Iran would do to America. He said immediately it would be very bloody. People would rally around their leader, etc. Spoiler alert, none of it happened.
None of it happened, right? Who rallied around which leader?
Yeah.
Let me just ask you one last question, because he called it 60 years ago. You referred to what a war with Iran would do to the United States. And I don't know that a lot of people in this country fully understand what Iran is as a nation state. It's not Afghanistan. What do you think the immediate and then longer term effects of a war with Iran would be on the United States?
Immediately, it would be very bloody. I have no doubt that we could probably defeat some of their air defense and go in there and have another shock and awe campaign. But again, like we saw how the shock and awe campaign in Iraq really didn't actually work in the long run. So I have no doubt that we'd have some.
But again, different military altogether. He's referencing a military that was arguably shackled and hamstrung. Okay, today's military, Joe Kent, very different. And
well,
I get
let
this was 2024.
me step you back for a second, because just yesterday, General Flynn put out a Substack, which was equally interesting in the era of Pete Hegseth and a completely unshackled military. He said that the military machine, is fighting yesterday's war, not today's.
That's a good thing. That's
No.
what yes.
No, it's not a good thing. Today's war is very different in the age of AI and drones and such like that.
But when he says
but
yesterday's...
the military planning is focused on yesterday's battlefield conditions.
So is he complaining about it?
Mm-hmm. He's saying basically you need to stop.
How do we know he's not saying that he's essentially ending all these forever wars that have actually been still continuing till this very day?
That isn't what he talks about in there.
Okay.
In his Substack, which I also sent you a copy of. But what it does is it puts that question in your mind, because everything so far against Iran has been kinetic. Right?
So does it lend to chaos theory?
Mm-hmm. Oh, completely. It forces a bifurcation, which ultimately you'll end up with 2 choices. Do we keep the old system or do we develop a new?
Yeah, why the fixation on the past? People, in other words, policymakers, analysts, media, and the public dwell on historical decisions for a few interconnected reasons, even as the current situation demands forward thinking.
Right.
And then he talks about accountability and blame shifting. The Persian Gulf's volatility marked by Iran's nuclear ambitions, proxy conflicts in Yemen and Syria, ballistic missile tests, and disruptions to shipping lanes like the Strait of Hormuz stems directly from the past U.S. and allied policies. Think the 1979 Iranian Revolution, the Iran-Iraq War, with Western backing for Iraq, the 2003 Iraq invasion that empowered Iranian influence. Yeah, that's what I think the whole Iraqi war was actually about, by the way.
Well, yeah, is it?
Was empowering Iran.
Right.
Yeah.
The IRGC.
The IRGC.
Who was Soleimani?
Yep.
He was their hitman, if you recall.
Yep.
And then just yesterday, we took out their security minister, who's responsible for killing security minister. And Trump very says, and another guy, but doesn't give you the name.
So you said, in my opinion, Kent represents a growing issue of why the MAGA base has been splintered. The, quote, ending endless wars narrative has become their hill to die on, so much so they don't even talk about the fact Iran has been at war with both Israel, known as Little Satan, and the U.S., known as Great Satan, according to them, since 1947, and that their actions taken since June are designed to actually end an endless war, which is exactly what I was just saying.
Mm-hmm.
While the administration claims Kent is an outlier, the fact that the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, the person tasked with analyzing these very specific threats, publicly stated there was, quote, no imminent threat, creates an obvious, you said, logic gap in the system.
Right.
So I want you to explain this further in just a sec. If other intelligence officials or military leaders like Flynn echo this sentiment, which he does, the outlier becomes a trend. But, as you say, I would also remind you that Tulsi testified that Iran did not have a nuclear weapon because of the 2003 fatwa. It went nowhere, and she was not part of the planning for the June operation. My guess is neither was Joe this time either. All right, so what do you...
Okay, so the logic gap.
What's the logic? What do you mean by logic gap?
If Iran is developing or building these ballistic missiles at a rate nobody could count, according to Rubio, how is it he didn't know about that? He's the head of...
We're assuming he didn't. I know he said that. I know what he said.
They said they're not an imminent threat, and I don't know how you don't see a barrage of ballistic missiles as anything but
well, they've
an
only
imminent
launched
threat.
these missiles, for crying out loud. They've been launching them, haven't they? Look at the barrage of missiles. What are they, in the thousands towards Israel and other neighboring states?
And their neighbors in total, right?
So how does he say that?
I don't know where he comes up with that. So Trump placed him, or kind of positioned him as an outliner, saying he wasn't strong on security. He even alluded to the fact that he may have been a leaker.
Oh, well,
so
his wife was CIA, by the way.
Right. So what is Trump trying to do? He's trying to dampen the noise that would come out of a Joe Kent resignation that is already... And this is the part that really is going to be interesting to watch, because it got amplified because of his role. And the fact that he was supposedly MAGA and 100% Trump, it got amplified to where now you've got members of Congress actually being questioned about Joe Kent. So now you've got the whole chaos theory. It is an element of chaos, that butterfly effect, that is taking us and blowing up the situation, that I'm hoping the bifurcation is that, and that we get a better understanding of what's going on with the ending of these wars. And then on top of that, you've got Trump talking about Russia wanting to make a deal and Zelensky suddenly backing away from it.
Was Kent CIA too himself?
I don't know that that's true. I can look it up.
Yeah.
Immediate results that people would cheer about here in the United States. But Iran, Persia has always been an empire. It's been around longer than any of the other players.
He was a
modern Middle East
paramilitary
right now,
officer.
and they are not going anywhere. And right now, Iran has a lot of internal problems.
Just like his
internal
wife.
strife with the Ayatollah and that government that's only been in power since 1979. But again, if we start conducting strikes in Iran, everyone in Iran will rally around their leader, and they will become even more revolutionary. And then we will have Iranian proxies throughout the entire region that will be conducting attacks just like we had in Jordan. And really, in the long term, Tucker, the axis that has been built really since Putin invaded Russia, and we decided that since Putin invaded Ukraine, and we decided we were going to throw this massive sanctions package at them, China has come in as a major player, and we are deeply compromised by China. They control a lot of our economy. They control global manufacturing. They're deeply embedded in Wall Street, and they've also made deals with the Iranians. They want access to Iranian petro, not to mention the fact that Biden killed off U.S. energy independence, and now he's going after LNG, and the world's biggest LNG exporters are Iran, Russia, and Qatar. So this axis would become very powerful. If we get deeply involved and deeply entangled with Iran, we are playing right into China's hands, because China would like nothing more than for us to be committing our military industrial base to a war in Eastern Europe, in Ukraine.
Let me ask a dumb question.
Please.
Playing right into China's hands when China gets 45% of their oil out of the strait. Isn't there a logic gap there?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
45% of China's imports come straight out of that region.
And all that stops too.
Well, which is why Trump asked China to help defend it. They're the ones with the most risk. It's 20% of the world's oil, yet 45% of China's imports. China's at risk.
Wow. So Trump asked
Xi to actually,
step
pony
up
up.
and help. What's to stop China from trying to stop the U.S. from?
Why would China want to do that if the end state is no oil? They're an energy consumer as well. I mean, it puts China on this plane of self-preservation above friends.
I see. Maybe.
I don't care who my friends are. You're going to put my family at risk. I'm going to kind of divert to my family. Don't you think?
Yeah, I see. This is almost over.
And then to be committing our conventional military power, our blood and our treasure back in the Middle East. That will make the Pacific, our actual border, extremely vulnerable to Chinese aggression. Or China will simply just watch us bleed out economically.
I can't handle this.
China, yeah. All right, so there's that. And then
at some point, we got to sit back and logically think about our foes and friends. Don't you think?
Yeah.
At some point, you got to say, okay, what would be the benefit? Would China snub their nose so much as to impede a substantive import just to get at the U.S.?
Right.
I mean, at what point does China say, wait a minute, or, I got a few billion people here to take care of?
Mm-hmm. That is a good point. It's a good point. There's just so little information coming out about China that it's really hard to put your finger on that scale,
Right.
So we can speculate until the cows come home, but it's really difficult, if not damn near impossible. But
they're fair
to confirm.
questions, and they're questions not being asked or even discussed, and that is notable to me.
Yeah. And as you said, Tulsi Gabbard, God, I love her. She has definitely expressed her loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
But she posted this at 3, about an hour and a half ago, guys. She says, Donald Trump was overwhelmingly elected by the American people to be our president and commander-in-chief. As our commander-in-chief, he is responsible, everybody, for determining what is and is not an imminent threat.
Isn't that what I said?
Yes. And
who the hell are you, Joe?
Right. And whether or not to take action he deems necessary to protect the safety and security of our troops, the American people, and our country. Shout out to Tulsi Gabbard. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence is responsible for helping coordinate, and integrate all intelligence to provide the President and Commander-in-Chief with the best information available to inform his decisions.
In other words, diverging opinions welcomed.
Right. So Kent worked for her, essentially, right?
Yes. He was the head of the National Counterterrorism Center.
So he provided her with the intelligence.
He provided her with all the various pieces of intelligence.
The counterintelligence.
And somehow he deemed that Iran was not an imminent threat.
She would probably be most knowledgeable of anyone who could confirm whether or not. And
she's careful. She doesn't confirm or deny.
Yeah.
She's saying this was Trump's call.
Right.
This is why we have a commander-in-chief.
And she said, after carefully reviewing all the information before him, President Trump concluded that the terrorist Islamist regime in Iran posed an imminent threat, and he took action based on that conclusion. I suspect Trump has the confirmation of whether or not
what it
Joe
does
Kent
allude
is compromised.
what it alludes to is that you had the IC coordinate all the information they had. Trump has had how many conversations with Putin?
At this point, I can't.
Obviously, another back channel.
I've lost count. Yeah.
Right? Because if Putin is now a back channel for Khomeini, and then Putin is talking to Trump, there's obvious intel sharing, and they are bypassing the IC, which we knew from the first administration they were doing.
What? That answers my question too. Why was Putin? I've always wondered, why was Putin allied with Iran? Now I'm starting to think, okay, it wasn't necessarily Iran he was allied with. It was Khomeini that he was allied with.
Same thing with Venezuela. Same thing with Cuba. It is handy to have a bad boy persona. You get some real interesting back channel perspective. And we've known Trump and Putin have had that relationship for a very long time.
Right.
So Venezuela is really interesting. You had China on ground the night that event happened, yet they did nothing. You've had Iran struck twice, and neither China nor Russia did anything. I mean, when do you step back and say, oh, there's a bigger story going on here?
There's a bigger story going on here. And then you sent...
This is the guy, if you play that video, that I reminded you...
I remember. Where do I remember this guy from?
Because we talked about this when I went way back in June, when I was talking about what really happened in Iran with that strike.
Oh, I remember.
Okay, so Roger
guy.
Goff, just so you know, Ratcliffe wanted to bring him back into the CIA to run special operations, and the CIA completely blew up over it, and he ended up not joining. So he started his own investigative agency. That we never knew. We never knew, but I gave you some of his background. This is what he's saying.
Okay, Ralph Goff says Iranian hardliners are, quote, kind of waiting for the old... Oh, yeah. Okay, confirmation.
The major shift is, as I said, Iran was a existential threat to Israel. One can argue that right now, it's not, right? But if it acquires a nuclear weapons capability, then it becomes an existential threat again. So, you have this window now, whereas, before Iran was all powerful with its proxies without nukes, and now they don't have the proxies, they don't have the nukes.
What? Oh, it's over.
This is back in June.
The major shift is, as I said, Iran was a existential threat to Israel. One can argue that right now. I think it's important to remember too that the mindset there's actually several mindsets, right? You've got the hardliners. There are Shia religious hardliners who probably would see it as their duty once they had a nuclear weapon to attack Israel, right? Then you have, more moderates. They're not really liberal, but they're less hardline. They say, okay, we just need a nuclear capability as a deterrent, right? And nothing proves that better than what they're going through right now. If they had a nuclear capability, right, if they had developed the bomb, the Israelis would not be striking them with the impunity with which they're striking them, right? Then you have, the supreme leader himself who issued a fatwa saying that, nuclear weapons are amoral. And he's forbidden the development of nuclear weapons. So, there are the hardliners there that, as much as they love their supreme religious leader, they're kind of waiting for the old guy to die so that they can get the fatwa lifted, and go back to work and develop a bomb in short order.
That's kind of, you really can't look at this whole thing without considering what he just said, or
what he just said. Now
saying.
This is back in June, which is why I've been saying, wait a minute. And then I found out as I went digging, the rumor about Khomeini's health had been out there for well over a year.
I mean, I didn't even report it on it. Me and Johnny have even reported on it before.
People have been talking about it for well over a year. So
you have these people.
And
you
he
have
said,
they just keep saying these things over and over again. It's an incantation. It's what?
Holy shit! I don't know why X does that. Sometimes it just starts playing it.
Yeah. So if we're creating a window, what if Khomeini's death was either it happened in June or it happened right before the February thing? I'm tending to believe the latter, because they were building ballistic missiles as cover for restarting the nuclear program, which means Khomeini had to have been dead, because they were adhering to the fatwa until he died.
Wow. I wish there was a better way to confirm that.
I can't, but
what? Okay,
I defy you to come up with something more logical.
So all right, yeah, that's fair. But could there be a reason why Trump couldn't just announce that? What's the reason that couldn't be announced? That okay, the reason we did this is because Khomeini died, and the IRGC was just going to. We knew what their plans were. And why not just call out whoever it is that's controlling them? Say the City of London. Why can't we call them out?
They've all but done that. Bessent all but did that yesterday.
Ooh, you have that?
Yeah.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, I'll have to get you that clip. I thought I gave it to you. I'll give it to you. Bessent all but called that out yesterday. I about flipped out when I heard that. Hold on.
I think that's what the... Man, I think that's what was said on Laura Ingraham.
I'm trying to remember now.
Let's see here.
Hold on, I'm finding it.
All right.
It was just yesterday. No, he all but called out Zanjani. Yeah, I'll forward it to you. Which is City of London, right?
Yes, correct.
So
if I
there's Bessent. I just sent it to you. He was on CNBC. He said Iran was the head of the snake for global terrorism.
All right, and I can probably grab. Trump announces top White House staffer diagnosed with cancer. Who's that?
Susie Wiles has the early stages of breast cancer that came out yesterday. But she's going to continue working while she goes through her treatment. The prognosis is good, according to Trump. That was put out yesterday.
Okay, yeah, it was on Ingram. Let me grab that one too from last night.
Go ahead and play that. I got a step.
Yep. All right. Here's this one with Ingram from last night, kind of laying out exactly what Feisty and I are discussing. It's titled, "This is a Joke." analyzing the global response to the conflict in Iran. So this is from last night. Thank you to Just Fed Up with a Cookie. God bless you, Just Fed Up. Trump may not have wanted them aware that they knew Khomeini was dead. IRGC hadn't made it known yet. Their actions gave them away. And not to mention, right, Just Fed Up, for all we know, that Trump could have been intelligence that was provided to Trump, for all we know. Maybe that could be the intelligence, the back channel discussion that, if Putin and Trump have a back channel, for all we know, that could have been something else that was discussed as well. So here is that from last night. Check this out.
And as Nate was just saying, look, if anyone watching tonight is surprised when America stands alone, well, you haven't been paying attention. Now, of course, as usual, liberals claim that Trump is the reason that any alliances are frayed. Well, that is a joke. The truth is, since at least 1950 or so, America hasn't really led a coalition in its purest form. Historically, European countries only stepped up when they believed it was beneficial for them to do so. The German chancellor said today that the war needs to end, but that is not going to get involved. In fact, Merz argued that this isn't even a NATO matter at all. And our great friends, the Brits, they're also a no-go.
Our priority is always the national interest. We will protect our people in the region while taking the necessary action to defend ourselves and our allies. We will not be drawn into the wider war.
As usual, they don't need to take out their wallets or risk any political heat at home, especially with the burgeoning Muslim population in the UK, because in the end, they know the United States will remedy the problem, make the region safer, and pick up the tab.
When I hear the UK, which was sort of considered the Rolls-Royce of allies, right? When you say they were the oldest and they were going to be there, and I say it would be really helpful if you'd send over a couple of ships, and if you have some minesweepers, which they do, it'd be very helpful. And the Prime Minister is a nice man. He says, well, I'd like to ask my team. I said, you don't have to worry about a team. You don't have a team. You're the Prime Minister. You can make a decision. It's very disappointing.
Well, all this proves is that President Trump was right all along about these friends. Well, they're friends who took advantage of us for about 80 years.
I was very surprised with the United Kingdom, because the United Kingdom, 2 weeks ago, I said, why don't you send some ships over? And he really didn't want to do it. I said, you don't want to do it. We've been with you. You're our oldest ally. And we spend a lot of money on, NATO and all of these things to protect you. I mean, we're protecting them. We're working with them on Ukraine. Ukraine's thousands of miles away, separated by a vast ocean. We don't have to do that, but we did it.
Well, he's right. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, EU nations begged us for an alliance because they were worried that Putin wouldn't stop in Ukraine. They needed Daddy's wallet and Daddy's munitions. But for decades before that, those same countries had also been free riding on the backs of our military and our taxpayers. It was only when Donald Trump called them out to their faces for their failure to meet their NATO military requirements did they begin to contribute more to their own defense. And they pay, but they do so grudgingly. And some of them still aren't paying up. Now, you've heard of sham marriages. This has been a sham alliance. Sure, like when we're defending them for free, while at the same time allowing them to take bigger and bigger shares of our market, well, of course they're going to like us then. Europe loved running circles around a weak Joe Biden, and they loved hearing Obama apologize for America every time he seemed to speak overseas. I was thinking about it today. I think you should think about it this way. If you're the guy who goes into a bar alone every weekend and buys everyone drinks, well, sure enough, you become pretty popular. But what happens when you show up one week and expect others to pick up the tab at the bar? Well, suddenly all your fake friends can't find their wallets. Well, under Biden and Obama, we weren't leading an alliance. We were the rich guys trying to pay people to be our friends. But in the end, who's better off? The kid who pays for friends or the kid who knows the truth?
We have some that are really enthusiastic. They're coming already. They've already started to get there. It takes a little while to get there. I assume some will not do it. I think we have one or two that will not do it that we've been protecting for about 40 years at, tens of billions of dollars, Mr. Speaker. So I'll be reporting that to you in the House and the Senate, and I'll say, why are we protecting countries that don't protect us?
Thank you. Again, Trump's been saying this for years, and day after day, week after week, it turns out he's right about this. Otherwise, they would be helping now. Although Trump is annoyed, of course, like when Keir Starmer, Macron, Frederick Merz don't do the right thing, he doesn't let it stop him from doing what's right for us.
I had an obligation to do this. I didn't want to, I called it an excursion. I didn't want to make this journey. We had the highest stock market in history, but that's a very small thing compared to allowing them to have. You want to see a stock market go down? Start letting them hit you with nukes. If they had that bomb at either time, 5 years ago or 7 months ago, if they had that bomb would have been used almost immediately.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page.
Any thoughts?
I think you just heard everything we just talked about.
That's why I played that. Yeah.
It's like, well, obviously, I'm not being a real big scholar or intellectual here.
Yeah.
It's so freaking obvious. Even the pundits are saying it.
Yeah. All right.
I do think we will be getting out of NATO. We have no reason. We are proving over and over and over again. We've been exploited in their wars.
Yep.
They're not there for us in our wars.
Yep.
We have no reason to be a member of that coalition.
Bingo. Well said. And then there was, let's see, this I just saw, kind of piggybacking off what you, the possible leaking angle here from Joe Kent.
See, what did I just say? He obviously wasn't a part of the briefings.
Right.
And I'm saying, first of all, you just did something that is, I don't care what administration, that is a complete no-no.
Yep. And
You
CIA.
don't have the role of determining that threat.
Right.
And I'm going to just go backwards on this one. That's what happened that created 9/11. They withheld key intelligence. Go backwards even further. The Iran-Contra stuff was withheld from the president. You can go back to many of these major things. And they're withholding this is the IC is withholding information from the president, who has the sole responsibility of determining the threat. Who the hell was he to do that?
Mm-hmm.
So I hear,
Glad
he's all
glad-
MAGA and all that stuff, but I'm sorry, you're a fair weather friend.
Yep.
Because I don't even see you as MAGA. I see you as a plant.
And I love what a boneless chicken just said in the pill chat. Says people have a hard time imagining anyone using a nuclear weapon. I love this for a couple of different reasons. He says that's why this is a tough sell for Trump. They can't connect an attack on Israel to a major global crisis because their favorite NFL players don't discuss it, he says.
Excellent. I love that.
Yup. And to that point, and this is why
But we were okay with hearing that Putin was going to use a dirty bomb.
From who? I wasn't okay with it.
Everybody was talking about how Putin, the media, was Putin was going to use a dirty nuke.
Yeah, and you're right, G Quick. Trump is kind of starting his own NATO with that whole peace.
Well, going backwards, remember what Putin said he agreed to? Trump's NATO-like security guarantees.
Which he was
during
just
Clinton
he was going to be a part of NATO at one point, right?
Yeah, we cut him out. When we cut him out of all decisions when he started questioning in 2013 the genocide of the people in Donbass.
So this account here, at Sadie_NC says suspected leaking coward exposed. Joe Kent wasn't in the room. He was cut from President Trump's intelligence briefings months ago.
Trump just said that again today.
Over suspected leaks. Trump did hint at it today, yes. He was deliberately shut out of all Iran planning and had zero access to the classified evidence proving the regime was racing toward nuclear weapons and posed an imminent threat. Yet,
okay, stop for a second.
Yeah.
Proving what? Say it again. Read it
Proving
again.
the regime was racing toward nuclear weapons.
How could they do that under a fatwa unless
he was dead?
He was dead.
Yet this gutless quitter still stabbed Trump in the back with a whiny resignation letter claiming, quote, no imminent threat and that Trump was, quote, deceived. Pathetic. The administration already knew he was security risk. Now the whole world sees why his opinion is worthless garbage. Leakers and spineless quitters don't belong in this White House. Good riddance. And then
totally agree with her. In fact, I may follow her because of that. Because it's not a popular opinion. I'm just going to say.
Well,
I was looking at this going,
opinions.
well, you son of a gun.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. The Board of Peace.
And you know what's really even more interesting?
Yeah.
Being prior military, that's enough for being held accountable in the military under the CMJ.
Yeah.
What he just did.
Yeah. Or leaking. Just the simple fact that
Well,
he
the
was
leaking
leaking.
is a crime, but what he just did to defy the president, if he were still in the military, he'd be locked up right now.
Yeah. But he's probably has more loyalty to the CIA at this point.
I wouldn't disagree.
Allegation that his decision was based on the influence of others, even foreign countries, is both insulting and laughable. Now, our own Aisha Hasni reporting that on background to a senior administration official says that Joe Kent was cut out of POTUS intelligence briefings months ago due to allegations of suspected leaks and that he has not been a part of any Iran planning discussions or briefings at all, which sort of posed the disconnect addressed earlier this morning by the administration, saying that he wasn't privy to the classified information that indeed underscores and proves, provides the evidence that Iran was nuclear empowered or about to be. And final quick point that I've referenced.
How is
Joe
it
Kent-
everybody's missing the obvious connection here?
I don't think everybody is. Oh, we mean
I don't get it.
You mean Putin?
No, not just Putin. The whole Khomeini thing.
Oh.
How is it they're racing towards nuclear with a fatwa that they've adhered to for 23 years?
Well, it lends to the doomers saying that they think Trump is compromised. They think Trump is owned by Bibi Netanyahu and is doing his bidding.
That cracks me up. If we're giving intel to Netanyahu and we're telling Netanyahu 10 days, hold off, 10 days, then strike. I mean, give me a break. How many times does Trump have to say, if it weren't for Bibi, right?
Yeah, and Trump even said yesterday that I think that was just discussed on the Laura Ingraham thing too, that he has that Israel has a different maybe has a different agenda or different reasons for attacking Iran. Right?
Yeah,
or
but
different objective.
Their objective is a complete regime change. But Iran has been an existential threat since 1947. Give me a break. When was Israel established? 1946. It isn't hard to figure out what Netanyahu's objective is.
And just 51 seconds ago, Trump urges allies to secure shipping routes amid Iran conflict. Allies? Was he talking about China?
China, maybe. Read that again.
Trump urges allies to secure their shipping routes amid Iran conflict.
Yeah, he's been doing this now for several days. And like I was saying, in fact, I'll show you.
You want to share screen?
I got to find it first. But I actually did up, we were talking about this in my chat the other night, where I did up the oil map. Let me grab it. But we did up the oil map to show who's got the most to lose with the straits being closed. You can't miss it. because China of the entire world gets the most oil from the strait. So it is logical that he wants China to step up.
So Jimmy 8 says, dang, y'all, Joe Kent is still a patriot who did 11 deployments as a Green Beret. I see this as a controlled opposition player setting a narrative denigrating his person is not cool. Well, so this is where I would encourage Jimmy 8, because I've had to do it so many times with people that I, have always thought were, patriots. And it could very well, that could turn out to be the case after all said and done.
Well, let's see if he has
know.
a job tomorrow. Okay?
Right. But at the end of the day, look, how desperate is the enemy? And I don't think I think, when it comes to individuals, got to leave room for nuance, got to leave room for that gray area, right? Things are obviously not black and white as people would like it to be. So this is where, to suggest somebody is good or bad, it's very subjective. But
I don't know what changed for him when his wife was killed in Syria. Something had to have. But to dismiss what he's currently doing because of what he did in the past, I don't think is a good way to go.
Yeah,
People change over time. People's agendas change. People's frame of reference changes. I have no problem with the fact that he deployed 11 times. We also don't know, as a counter-intel guy, CIA, paramilitary, what he was involved in. And we've been sitting here saying our paramilitary hurt our national interests, not helped. So just going to say, think of it all, not just what you want to see.
Yeah.
And I just sent it to the chat, to our dig, China's oil import routes. 45% of it comes from the Strait.
Strait of Hormuz, for China.
For China, that's all China's import.
This is what Feisty's referring to right here. 20% to Russia, 15% to Africa and Latin America.
No. Those are the pipelines from.
Yes.
45% of it is coming via the Strait.
Yeah.
Russia's from the pipelines.
Yeah. Yeah, and 10% to Central Asia route pipelines. Yep.
So the country with the most at risk from the Strait is China.
Yeah.
In fact, we're guiding tankers around the Horn of Africa and around India right now because of pirating, suspicions of pirating. So we're actually guiding. So the model they're wanting to put in place in the Strait is identical to the model they've been using for the last year and a half in those other two regions.
Yeah.
So it's not even a new plan. And you heard Hegseth say, we've been planning for this. You heard Trump say it was obvious that they were going to weaponize the Strait. So stop and think for a second. If it was that obvious, he obviously briefed his NATO partners. They all knew. He obviously briefed whomever needed to be briefed. This is going to happen. And now they're backing away from helping.
Oh, come on.
Time to say bye-bye.
Yeah. Come on. And then I do have a clip here of Leavitt her response after Joe Kent's resignation. But I think we can move on from that. Battlefield update: major strikes take out key Iranian leader. Hezbollah then also hits Israel as well.
I'm not shocked by that. That's the AQHA that Bassett was talking about yesterday.
But even better, okay, so did you see, is this Eagle Ed Martin? No, Iran was almost at the goal line to weapons-grade uranium. Also, Irish Prime Minister reveals how Europeans feel about the U.S.-Iran conflict. That's interesting. And then UAE was just forced to close airspace as Iran fires missile barrage.
Yeah, Trump said today that they're almost out of missiles.
Iran is? Really?
Mm-hmm. He said that in that presser today.
There's a level of frustration at the White House, according to Brett Baer. Okay. Well, what do you want to cover next?
Well, there's a lot of little things going on. Did you want to play the Basent one?
Oh, yes, I can do that.
Just scroll up a little. I re-forwarded it.
Yep.
It's not a long piece.
All right. This is Basent. He calls out the Zanjani network that
He doesn't actually say them,
he
but
all
listen
but
to what
calls
he
out the
says.
Zanjani network.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Their borders. And, Brian, Iran was the head of the snake for global terrorism everywhere. Whether it was through their proxies or, there were Iranian Guard members in Venezuela. There's Hezbollah in Colombia. They're interacting with Cuba. Everywhere that there is chaos and terrorist mayhem, it is Iran. So this is a generational opportunity to end this.
I think the risk and the fear that people have spoken to on and off the record, the risk is that while the head of the snake
Look at Scott's
in
eyes.
Tehran may have been cut off, there are IRCG bosses that have gotten personally very wealthy. They run little fiefdoms. They're rich off of control. And there's nothing to stop them from having a rocket-powered missile, shooting it at a supertanker. Do we know as a nation who right now we are technically fighting? Because between the Houthis in the Red Sea, and I know the Department of War.
Right there. Who we are technically fighting. I wish I got to hear him. What was his answer to
I
that?
got the whole thing. I'll give you the whole thing.
And then I got to tell you, did I put it in the Diggs folder? There was a discussion. It was one guy. It was genius, actually. Did I put it in the Diggs folder? I don't think I put it in the Diggs. Yes, I did.
This country, it's going to take more than 4.
This was incredible. If you have not heard this, I think we need to play this.
Go ahead, play it. I hadn't heard it.
I think we need to play just a little bit of this. It's the strategic overview. U.S. and Russia relations is the pivot point, he says, in this March 16th Promethean Pack Monday night strategic overview. This guy, Mike Steger, argues that the key question in the Iran conflict is not oil prices or regime change, but whether President Trump can reorganize global relations to prevent future administrations from being trapped by Washington deep state and neocon permanent war dynamics. He traces a very long strategy of using radical Islamist destabilization and the 1979 Iranian regime as a permanent, quote, permanent enemy to justify Middle East conflict and ultimately drive confrontation with Russia, citing Libya, Syria, Ukraine, and the Russia proxy war. Steger contends Trump is operating from a different map, maintaining dialogue with Russia, pressuring reluctant allies over the Strait of Hormuz, as we just discussed, and challenging the UK's escalatory role in Ukraine. He frames U.S.-Russia collaboration as the decisive geopolitical pivot for ending perpetual war and shifting toward nation-state cooperation. This is an aspect of this I don't think we've really entertained, and that is the ensuring that whoever precedes Trump nobody
else is held hostage.
Right. Isn't going to just pick right up where it left off.
What do you think 9/11 was really about?
Contra?
Holding the U.S. hostage.
Hostage, yep.
We've also got credible information that Iran was blackmailing the U.S. That's where the JCPOA came out of.
Oh.
So I'm just pointing out that, yeah, we got into a sticky wicket. And I don't know who's guilty, who's not guilty. This isn't even about that. If you're going to end decades of subjugation, you got to do it in such a way that somebody after you doesn't get caught up in the same trap.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Gosh, that's the point that I've been wanting to make. What measures are being put in place to ensure that this doesn't pick right back up when Trump is out of office?
And I think dealing with the Bank of London or the Bank of England or the City of London, which we did with the LIBOR SOFR shift, I think dealing with NATO countries that are exploiting us and not there for us. I think dealing with a World Health Organization that took our money and then kicked us in the teeth. I mean, when you start looking at the institutional piece that kept us subjugated, I can't find one thing that Trump is doing that I would disagree with from that perspective.
I got nothing on that one. I agree. I think you're gonna like this. And by the way, we're gonna go right up to 7. Or at least I got to go up to 7. I'm gonna raid Ash because she's gonna be going live at 7 with for Beyond the Ashes. So if you guys want to just kick it for another hour or so, we're gonna raid Ash, who will be going live in about a little over an hour here. So,
Thank you for the warning that we're doing a 3-hour.
Yeah, 3 hours. That's right. Well, you can jump off whenever.
No, I'm not gonna dump on you. You know I won't.
Right.
I enjoy this.
All right. So this is well, it's over 30 minutes. I'm not gonna play the 30 minutes. I'll just play the first 10 minutes and then we'll pause it. And if you have anything you wanted to add,
did you drop that for me?
You want this?
Yeah, I do.
Of course.
Please.
Yep.
Good evening. This is the Monday night Promethean Pack Strategic Overview. I'll be your host, Mike Stager. We'll have discussion after the opening remarks.
I did see this.
So get your questions and ideas ready. You can put those in the Q&A. For you, those of you watching on YouTube, please hit like and subscribe. Stay in touch with us. Subscribe to our Promethean with your own thoughts and questions. 2026, we're 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks into this war and attack on Iran. And everybody seems to be obsessed over it. A lot of obsession over the oil prices, which, of course, if you watch it, went down today. But I don't think it's really worth. That's not the strategic question. The strategic question, and with Trump's entire presidency in terms of foreign policy, are two really very relevant questions. One is, how do you get the world organized well enough so that the next regime, whoever it might be, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, whatever it is, preferably, a Republican, MAGA Republican. The point is to have the world organized in such a way that they are not eaten alive by the deep state factions inside the United States, the deep state that are blowing up Tucker Carlson and Laura Loomer over the weekend and all this other stuff, which the White House came out. If you got wind of that, the White House came out and said it's just not true. None of what was reported was true on the whole story. But that we do know there's a deep state that is alive and ferocious. It's the piranhas in the Potomac that will look to eat alive any of the next administration. That Trump, in all of our lifetimes, is the most significant and substantial president we will ever see. He will demonstrate, he does demonstrate and has demonstrated and will continue to do so, what a real presidential leadership looks like on a global stage. And that's critical. We all have that in our minds. We now have a sense of how our constitutional and presidential system work. I would hear stories of it from the World War II generation. Franklin Roosevelt was a titan compared to the midgets like Truman that came after him. But he was a significant figure on the global stage. Like him, love him, hate him, doesn't matter. He was a major figure that won the presidency for 4 terms. And clearly reorganized and reindustrialized our country out of the Depression. But Trump has done the same thing. And the question is to understand the strategic focus, 1, of what Trump is trying to do, and 2, where the traps are. Where do we need to create pivot points so we can avoid or at least eliminate the basic, most critical traps that could suffocate and undermine Trump's second term, but certainly the ability to keep what Trump has done this first year, keep it going for the full 4 years, and have it then supported back in office again for 8 years, for 16 years. We intend to rebuild this country. It's going to take more than 4 years. It's going to take a generation. And we're going to need leadership in the presidency that can recognize what Trump has done and follow this arc. Okay, so what's the arc? What is the arc I'm referencing? Well, I put out a video last week on this, on Promethean Overview's YouTube channel. If you haven't checked it out, please do. It'll give you some perspective. But there's no doubt that the obsession over an attack on Iran, the third Gulf War, as many people call it, and the obsessions with regime change, with interventionism, a ground invasion, none of these things are on the table, but this is not how President Trump is functioning. He's operating off of a different strategic map. The map the neocons operated from was war with Russia. That was their goal. Going back to 1991-92 with Bush 1. And they recognized that the ability to create the conditions for world war and to eat at Russia's southern underbelly would be through Islamic terror. So some of you may remember in the late 90s, there were all kinds of terrorist elements operating in the Caucasus, targeting Russia. This was part of the crescent of crisis, as Zbigniew Brzezinski called it in 1979. This was an intent to run a radical Islamic operation from Afghanistan, from India on the eastern side, basically from India, Alexander's empire, from India and Pakistan all the way to the Mediterranean, into the Persian Gulf area. That this would be a destabilized area of radical Islam. And this was put forward at the time as our Cold War strategy. But it wasn't a Cold War strategy. It wasn't attempting to deal with the ideological problem of the Soviet Union, which was the problem. It was to attempt to create the conditions for permanent war. Because what happens when you have permanent enemies and permanent conditions of war? It may be isolated, controlled war, Korea, Vietnam, etc. But the point of permanent war is permanent control. Permanent enemies, like Iran and Iran's regime, is permanent control. It gives the neocon apparatus, the warmongers, the deep state in Washington, a constant point of fixation. But is the problem really Iran? Was the neocon obsession with war or with the Iran regime about Iran? No, they're controlled by the same higher level globalist forces, because it was the radical terrorists of Osama bin Laden and the Mujahideen that Brzezinski supported. And it was the same British and French intelligence networks that brought in the Ayatollah regime in 1979. This was a targeted plan to create a permanent enemy, one, of course, with Israel, but also a permanent enemy, death to America, celebrated 4 times a year, in Iran. So the regime in Iran was set up to be a constant antagonizing deployment, a psychological operation to constantly create the conditions where the United States could justify expanded conflict in the Middle East. And as some people describe this region, it was a cockpit for war. It had been designed. The architects, the Sykes-Picot after World War I, the promotion of Israel as kind of a British imperial deployment, because the Brits didn't have Catholics, they didn't have Eastern Orthodox like the French and Russians had. This goes back to like the 1840s, 1850s Ottoman Empire. The British didn't have a faction. They didn't have a dog in the race in the Ottoman Empire that went from Turkey, modern-day Turkey, to Egypt. The Russians had Eastern Orthodox, the French had the Catholics. The Brits decided, well, we will use the Jewish population as part of our deployment. That doesn't mean Israel as a nation is a problem. It shows that there was a grander thought to how do you use religious divisions in this region to foment war. You can see the same type of attempt within MAGA today to divide MAGA on religious grounds. You've got the evangelical Christians versus the Catholics versus the Jews. There's all this obsession with religious denomination. And of course, you're just going to find more and more splinters, because that's the ultimate reality of this. All kinds of theological distinctions within Protestant Christianity, let alone broader, Orthodox Catholic Protestant Christianity. I mean, there's different sects within Judaism. The whole thing is just a complete kind of, it's a kind of category or tribes that the British imperial power and the globalists today use to divide and conquer a people. So they're attempting to do that same thing within MAGA today, because it's a largely religious and conservative base. At least it's a big portion of it. But that was the architecture of this region, going back to the 1840s, with the idea of breaking up the Ottoman Empire, post-World War I, and then, as I said, in the 1970s, Brzezinski, and then, of course, you get Osama bin Laden out of the Mujahideen, and you get 9/11 attacks. And, of course, the neocons and the Bush regime let 9/11 happen, and we end up in permanent war there. So if you just look at it as somehow we made a mistake, I supported the Iraq, I didn't, but someone might have supported the Iraq war. They don't want to get burned again. They got burned. First mistake, my fault. Second time, your fault. Kind of way of thinking. Very practical. But it is a larger strategic game. And you have to see the breadth of it. You have to see the way the enemy is operating on a strategic level, because only then can we defeat the enemy. You have to know the enemy. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you'll win every battle. Or at least every war. Every battle, maybe not, but every war we can win. And we can win this. We are winning this. That's the point. We are winning the larger strategic war. And that's what I want to cover tonight. The focus of the neocons was war with Russia. And the best indication I can give to that is something I put in the email that went out today. I was at a conference in 2010, at the end of 2010 in San Francisco, and the economist and statesman Lyndon LaRouche gave a forecast, a prescient one. This was within days of, I think it was actually the day that they had found Muammar Gaddafi, the former head of Libya, after they had overthrown him in the Arab Spring, backed by France and Obama and so on. They found him in a sewer pipe. They dragged him out and they executed him right there. There was no arrest. There was no trial. They literally executed him like a pig in the street. Not even in the street. It was in a sewer. So, or a drainage pipe or something. So someone asked a question, why? Why did they kill him? Why did they have him killed? And his response was, they don't have time. They don't have time to go through the formalities, they being the globalists, the British, the globalists, the same enemy we're fighting today. They don't have time to go through the formalities of a trial like they did with Saddam Hussein. And they found him somewhere hiding in a hole underneath a date tree or something. And they gave him a trial and then executed him. They didn't have time. He says they're panicked and they're rushed to gain a war with Russia. And he says they will move rapidly from Libya into increasing and escalating the conflict in Syria, and that will be oriented, all of which, towards creating a conflict with Russia. This is end of 2010. So the 2011, we saw Hillary Clinton and Obama backing ISIS and Al-Qaeda in Syria. This isn't to argue for Assad. It's to say that the means by which they were looking to escalate conflict was by any means possible in Syria, including supporting ISIS and Al-Qaeda. We were backing, our military and intelligence were backing, under Obama's regime, the very terrorists we created in the 70s, and then we let bomb the 9/11 towers in some form. Let. We didn't let it. Within 3 years of LaRouche's warning, the coup in Ukraine was launched, and by early 2014, the regime had been removed, and you had a breakout of civil war in Ukraine. And it's that civil war, the Donbass region, the southeast part of Ukraine, that was the Russian-speaking base. They basically split from Kiev. They went into civil war circumstances, and that's the basis of ultimately Russia's intervention in 2022. And so that's where the beginning of the Ukraine-Russia war opens up. And of course, Biden and Harris could have stopped it, but Biden was basically the vice chancellor of Ukraine. He was appointed by Obama to handle Ukraine post-coup. And Lindsey Graham and crazy John McCain and Victoria Nuland John Kerry were all hands on helping to manage this Ukraine coup and creating the conditions ultimately for an aggressive, kinetic proxy war, whether it be proxy or not, but a proxy war initially with Russia. So that's where we are today. Now, what has Trump's response been? Trump has changed that entire situation. And that is, of all other indications, is Trump's strategic policy on Iran? Does he have a plan? Is he going to get out? Is there an off-ramp? All these obsessions, all this breathless obsession, all the yappers and yippers who are constantly panicked. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Trump is messing up. He's getting caught. He's in a briar patch. There's no way out. It's the midterms. He said 4 to 6 weeks. It's a little over 2 weeks. We've knocked out the entire Iranian Navy, much of their missile compounds. We're dealing with oil supply. The overall military side of this seems to be going well. Doesn't mean Iran is completely knocked out yet, but the military side of it. But you can't measure this based on military success. You have to see the strategy. And the broader strategy, the indication of Trump's strategy, is the ongoing collaboration and dialogue with Russia and China and India, because Europe has become increasingly irrelevant. They are not going to have an influence in the direction of the world, not under the EU, not under this liberal self-destruction, not under the kind of occupation they put themselves in with mass immigration, not by shutting down their energy supply, and certainly not going to war with Russia. That's not going to make Europe relevant. It's making it increasingly irrelevant. And so Trump's policy has been, we've got to create a different dynamic. The pivot of the world of a new system of nation states is the same pivot that existed after World War II, which is why the globalists pit the US and Russia against one another and do a Cold War. There were ideological differences, no doubt. Did it have to be an existential threat of nuclear war for the entire world because of that? Well, the globalists made sure that that ideological division, those differences in worldview, became inseparable. So the pivot point, of course, since 45, since 1989, and again today with Trump, is will the U.S. and Russia decide that they're not going to be plunged into some type of permanent enemy complex? And that question has everybody panicked. It's why there was obsession over Russia, because there was one issue, the one issue that if Trump fundamentally changed, the entire gig could be up. Yes, he's going to industrialize the United States. He might find investments. Okay, fine. We can use that for AI, even if that's a bit of a boondoggle. There's all things that they would tolerate. But the one thing that was untouchable from the standpoint of the globalists was that potential relationship with Russia. That's why they created a circle to let anybody else know, if you touch that issue, you will be given the Trump treatment. And that's why we've got to keep hitting that issue.
On,
we've got to make sure
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't know how many people remember this. Trump remember when he owned the Miss Universe pageant?
Yep.
Okay. He took Miss Universe to Russia. Do you know what year? You're not going to know.
No.
2013. What happened and it was November of 2013. What happened in November 2013? It's when Ukraine denied the loan guarantee.
Yes.
And it created the conditions for a revolution that began in February, who funded that? Oh, yeah, that would be our government, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So when he was in in Russia for the Miss Universe pageant, he actually asked the question, is President Putin coming to the pageant? And he said, well, it doesn't matter if he comes. I'm going to likely be president anyway. This is after he stepped away in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems an interesting marker, that November 2013 date. They've been a back channel at least since then. Putin was kicked out of the G8 because he dared question, the hell are you doing to the people in the Donbass? right after he asked that question at a G8 meeting,
Yeah.
his butt was booted. So and they've always wanted the specter of war or a war footing between the U.S. and Russia. Why? Because Russia's nuclear. Even though Russia and China both said they would only use it defensively, and Putin said, my red button works, and Putin said, nobody wins. So when he said we'll only use it defensively, that's all the globalists needed to hear. They knew they could keep the entire world in a war footing mentality because it would never come to nukes.
Okay.
Enter the Ukraine conflict.
All right. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
So do you remember when Bush 2 did that infamous mission accomplished?
Yeah, vaguely. Yep.
I dropped the article on it. The media eviscerated him. Look at the date of that, Sean. The date was...
Oh, man.
Oh, this
I
says
remember
May
this 'cause
1st,
he did
2008,
this
but
on he
it
did
was
this
in
on a ship.
2003.
Yeah,
right.
This was a big deal.
Okay, why would he be doing a mission accomplished from one of our naval hardware? It's a battleship, isn't it? Or aircraft carrier. Why would he be doing it from that? Who is Bush at that state? He's commander-in-chief. He's telling you this is not our war. This was a globalist war. So from 2003 or 4, whenever that was on, that was a globalist war.
And
He's
this
telling you
was
that.
2008.
2008. Mission accomplished.
Right towards the
And
very
we've been
end.
there ever since.
Yeah, this is...
And remember, he's the one that signed the property, the RICO order against terrorism. That is still in effect, by the way. So I'm just pointing out, people start connecting dots. Because the bigger picture isn't the heads of state. The bigger picture is City of London. You just dropped the fact that the loan guarantee to Ukraine is going through. And I said to you, take a guess as to who's backing it.
So what is Feisty talking about? In case you didn't know, couldn't know, this is just breaking, but the EU has apparently agreed, on a 90 billion euro loan to Kiev, overcoming Hungary's veto. So Hungary tried to veto it.
And look at the first question.
Who's going to loan the money to the EU since they are broke?
Because let me explain something. The instrument that they're using their own. It's not a simple transfer of cash, right? Yeah. They're using a market-based instrument,
so it's not
which is all over the documents. That means they have to interact with the City of London because they are the ones who will make the money magically appear.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to the whole shadow banking system is coming into play here because if they're issuing that 90 billion by issuing joint debt Eurobonds, the City of London is the primary buyer of those bonds. And remember, it will only be paid back if Russia pays reparations. We're about to crash. I don't know where they go with this.
I don't either.
This is your City of London shadow banking system.
Yeah. So why to Kyiv or why to Ukraine? What are they trying to do with this money? Because arguably, all that money that we gave to Ukraine just went right back to the City of London.
Well, I don't know where it went. Yeah. To be very honest, well, I think Trump knows by now. They actually did an investigation into it. It's just not public. There are people who are doing everything they can to stay in the shadows.
So I'm 257 in the Rumble chat with a $1 Rumble
Let's
rant.
get ready to
Says, is it possible that the Ayatollah destroyed their own nuclear sites last year? The U.S. operation was simply public and that the U.S. operation was simply public cover. This operation is to clean up the regime post his death. That's an interesting question.
It's an interesting take.
Yeah. It kind of coincides with what you're alluding to, I think.
But you're still saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Khomeini is no longer with us,
Right.
and it wasn't a bomb last weekend.
That makes the most logical sense to me. Again, that makes me
Here's
think,
my opinion.
Why not come out with that? Why not, Trump, why not just say that?
I don't know.
There must be another reason.
There's got to be something else going on, and it may be, in my opinion, it may be whoever was in the Ayatollah's circle that would be put at risk if that came out.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Then you could.
I don't know, but the question is too obvious not to ask it.
Did you hear that Trump was laughing hysterically because somebody mentioned that Ayatollah's son could be gay?
Oh, yeah.
He was getting a kick out of that one, I guess, yesterday.
Oh, they've been coming out with all kinds of things. I also dropped you just a video just now because our 6-fingered BB is back. He only has 5 fingers.
Oh, you talking about the AI video?
No, everybody was saying BB was dead.
Yeah.
And the
And they
proof
put
of
out-
life video, they're saying he's got 6 fingers. This is AI. Well, he's doing a meeting right here about NATO. And I said, watch heads explode because he's back.
You said you dropped that? Where'd you drop it?
Yeah, I dropped it in the folder above the mission accomplished. It's only a 35-second thing, but enough to see his hand.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I'm
here
just,
with, Israel's
when
defense
you're,
minister, our chief of staff, the head
Watch
of the
his hands.
Mossad, the chief
Watch
of Air Force, our senior commanders. In the past 24 hours, we knocked out 2 of the
Was this recorded with a potato?
terrorist chieftains, the top terrorist chieftains of this tyranny. Our aircraft are hitting the terror operatives on the ground, in the crossroads, in the city squares.
only 5 fingers.
This is meant to enable the brave people of Iran to celebrate the Festival of Fire. So celebrate and Happy Nowruz. We're watching from above.
I love that. I love that we're watching from above.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of like a Golden Dome thingy going on there, don't you think?
Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, boy. All right. So where do we take this now?
I don't know. Where do you want to go? We got through so many different things. I loaded you today when you said, what are we talking about? It's like, go look at the folder. You never did, but...
Yes, I did. Oh, that's the first thing I did.
There's a lot of stuff in here. I'm trying to go
If you
through.
ever wondered what happens when a staffer shares something that surprises an elected member of Congress, watch this. You can see the seething rage in his face as the host pressed him. No, that's
the Gunther Engelman.
Yes. Dipshit. Something about dipshit. Himes, not knowing what the hell was posted on social media, decided to give it confidence. Oh, CNN. Oh, yeah. And then, okay. All right. So the SAVE Act apparently just passed.
It did pass.
Yes. I think we had a rhino that just voted against it. That is, I think, Murkowski. Is she? But I thought she switched over to the Democrats. Did she not?
No, she's not officially switched
Oh,
over,
okay.
but she's always caucused with them.
Oh, by the way, today is the Illinois Republican primary.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see here. I know there was just something just saw regarding the SAVE Act. Ugh.
One of the things I've noticed, though, I've been trying to find out where the votes were for the bill, knowing that Thune was putting himself at great political risk to bring the vote forward and not have the votes he needed. And there's almost no information as to what people were leaning towards. So I think that's something to note, the fact that he just brought it to the floor today and it's already passed.
And then you also got shit like this.
Oh, Padilla?
Alex Padilla.
So no, we're not going to let it pass. We're going to fight it tooth and nail. We're prepared to stay here all day and all night, or multiple days and multiple nights, and even multiple weeks if necessary, to make sure the SAVE Act suffers the death that it deserves. So
man, they're really nervous about what.
So I tried to do.
I heard that them admit that if this passes, that'll mean millions of illegal immigrants will be won't be able to vote.
Well, they're trying to say there are no illegals on the voter rolls.
Oh, that's right. It was voted to move to voting.
Okay, so here's something that's interesting.
Thank you, Chris.
Because now that we need, do you know what E-Verify is?
Yep.
Okay. E-Verify, and for those that don't know, is a system that's used to prove that you're eligible for employment in the United States. It's an electronic system. It's coordination between the Social Security Administration and DHS, checks your immigration background against your Social Security number. We've also got a SAVE system for public benefits. Okay, now you got a Save America Act, which is going to put in a system to check voter rolls.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, by any stretch of the imagination, an efficient government can't operate with that. That's awfully fragmented, right? We're getting to, this is the way you get to a national ID. There will be a convergence.
So for those,
one of the problems, remember when Elon Musk said one of the problems were the various databases in the government are not allowed to talk to each other?
Yep.
Which is why you got all these fragmented systems. You watch. After the election, there's going to be movement to reduce that.
Which that was arguably Doge's job, was to make that all available.
Well, they're not allowed to do that because our own laws prevent. For example, in the Social Security database, they could put in a death date, right?
They love
but they weren't allowed to share that with any other database.
They love their they love their databases, though. They love their
yeah, but what we're looking at, if you recognize what Doge was actually doing, wasn't about finding the fraud. That was a part of what came out of it. They were mapping the entire U.S. government, how information and money flows through the government. So from an efficiency standpoint, fragmented databases are a source of problem. It adds chaos to the system. If you're going to reduce that, you got to coordinate these databases. And that's what I see coming.
So there was this today from shout out to Mike Drop Davis. A big push for the Save America Act, says this is historic. He explains, Mike Davis, Senate Republicans advanced debate on the Save America Act, which would require proof of citizenship and voter ID to register and vote in federal elections. It protects election integrity and his broad public backing while criticizing Democrats for opposing it.
Okay, let me stop you for a second, because this is what the left is complaining about. It doesn't change codified law. It is illegal for somebody who's not eligible to vote in an election. This isn't about them. This is about proving you're eligible at the point. Right now, most of the states are doing it with an attestation. This is saying you need documented proof. And the states are pissed because states control how they
This
run the
overrides the
election.
state, yeah.
And they're saying this is putting too much control in the feds.
Yep. Shayla, I will get to that before the show is over. I promise. All right, so let's see what Mike Drop Davis has to say about this.
This is historic, and I want to commend senators like Senator Eric Schmidt from Missouri, Senator Mike Lee from Utah, many other good Republican senators, even Mitch McConnell, who joined his colleagues to vote to proceed. They voted to get past that first Senate procedure to begin debates on the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act will ensure that non-citizens are not voting in our elections. It requires proof of citizenship to register to vote. It helps keep our voting rolls clean to make sure that
Which is, by the way, that's not a state. That should not even come down to the states. It shouldn't be up to the states to determine whether or not somebody is a citizen or not. That should be federal.
But that's just it. That's what's so keen about this.
Yeah.
Is it is the federal government's responsibility, which
Right.
this act does. It
Yes.
defines a citizen.
Yes.
And then it requires documented proof
Right.
of citizenship
Right.
to get into the system. And that's where the states have been bucking, and the Democrats. That's where they've been bucking.
Yeah.
And this is also, remember, there are 24 states, to include Virginia, by the way, which I found out some interesting stuff about her. If there's in time, I'll get into that. But that's where the 24 state lawsuit is coming in by the feds, because they don't want to give up their voter rolls. Why? Get back to the reality. Somebody just saying, yes, I'm eligible, doesn't make them eligible. And an attestation process is a weak link in the voter integrity process.
Yeah. So just like I said, I mean, they can feign all the outrage they want, but guess what? It's the federal. If you didn't have a federal government that was providing some sort of security measure to ensure that only Americans are able to vote, then just anybody would be able to vote. Anybody, even kids, for crying out loud. What's to prevent? What measures are in place to prevent non-Americans from voting? There aren't really.
And we've had many lawsuits lately.
And then you could have captured states.
Many indictments lately for people that voted when they weren't eligible.
Yeah, and then you could have captured states like California, New York, or whatever, Virginia, that just hijack the vote, like we've seen, and insert foreigners.
Citizens are not on our voting rolls. It requires voter ID. These are measures that have support with over 80% of Americans, including a supermajority of Democrats and even a supermajority of minorities. These Democrat senators are pretending that this is somehow sexist and racist to require voter ID, like married women somehow can't get a voter ID because their name has changed, or that Black Americans don't have the wherewithal to get a voter ID like all other Americans. Well, if that's the case, why do a supermajority of Black Americans support voter ID? Why do they support the SAVE Act? It's very clear what the Democrats are doing here. They want to make it easier for illegal immigrants to illegally vote and rig and steal our elections. And the SAVE Act will help prevent that. This is within Congress's power under the Elections Clause of the Constitution. Congress can set the rules for federal elections along with the states. And so this is clearly within Congress's power. There is no excuse not to pass the SAVE Act when it has overwhelming bipartisan support among Americans. There's no excuse for this. And so the Democrats think that they're going to try to stop this with what they call the silent filibuster, meaning you have to have 60 votes in the Senate to end debates and vote on bills. And I call that the lazy filibuster, because if you just threaten a filibuster in the Senate, it usually makes these senators say, okay, we don't have the courage, we don't have the energy to fight this, so we're going to move on to the next bill. This bill, this SAVE Act, can pass without 60 votes in the Senate. It is simply...
Hey, thank you to Sober Lady 77 with a 50, count it, a $50 who says, thank you, as always, Feisty and Sean, for helping us see through the fog of war. Love you guys. Well, much love back at you, Sober Lady. God bless you. Thank you for your support.
Not true that you need 60 votes in the Senate to pass the SAVE Act. You need you just need to wear out the Democrats. You need to make them debate. You need to make them stand up on the floor and follow the strict rules, Rule 19 of the Senate rules. Follow that strictly, where senators can only generally debate 2 times a day in one legislative day on any given topic, and the debates must be germane, remaining they have to be about the SAVE Act and not about anything else. And if you strictly enforce those rules, if you make Senate Democrats stand up and debate and argue against 80% of the American people, including a supermajority of Democrats and even a supermajority of minorities, the Democrats are going to lose steam on this debate. They're not going to win this debate. And so the key is Republicans just need to continue to fight to make sure this passes. This bill has already passed the House, and it simply needs to pass the Senate after we wear out the Senate Democrats, and the president can sign this crucial piece of legislation that makes sure that Democrats cannot continue to import tens of millions of illegal aliens, and so they can rig and steal our elections. This is a red line. This is where Senate Republicans must fight and not give up. And at the Article 3 project, we make it very easy to encourage our senators to stay in this fight. If you go to article3project.org and take action, again, the War Room Posse superpower is lighting up these Senate Republicans and even Senate Democrats, like we did with Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation, like we've done with so many others. You take action, and the most important action item right now is to stop illegal aliens from rigging and stealing our elections. Get these Republicans to find and keep their backbones and pass the SAVE Act, get it to President Trump's desk. He's already said he's not going to sign any other legislation until he signs the SAVE Act. And so if these Senate Republicans or these Senate Democrats want appropriations bills signed by the president, they better pass the SAVE Act.
Boom. I thought that was well said. But I get this sneaking suspicion that there's going to be some... I don't know. I'm not trusting Thune or anybody really on this. I mean, yes. What's his name?
Do you know what, Trump? Let me just say something. I don't care who you trust, who you like, who you don't like. You work with the team you've got. And I don't know who's being held over a barrel.
Somebody.
But a major piece of legislation that Trump has been calling for 10 years just got through.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter who you like, who you don't like. He managed to get them to do what he's been wanting them to do. And I think while we can sit and we can debate who's good, who's bad, the reality is that piece of legislation changes a major trajectory for us. And I think it's okay to step back on that one.
If it's passed, I don't know. There's too many people who are iffy about it, and they pretend like Thune. He's saying all the right things, but we were warned about this. We were warned that.
But I'm also going to point out, everybody loves Ken Paxton. Trump hasn't even endorsed him yet.
Are you sure? I thought he did.
Is not endorsed either Cornyn or Paxton.
So Trump posted 10 hours ago, the Save America Act is one of the most important and consequential pieces of legislation in the history of Congress and America itself. No more rigged elections, voter ID, proof of citizenship, no rigged. I like that he throws that word in there first. No rigged mail-in voting. We're the only country in the world that allows this. No men in women's sports, no transgender mutilization of children, 90% to 99% issues all. Only sick, demented, or deranged people in the House and or Senate could vote against the Save America Act. If they do, each one of these points separately will be used against the user in his or her political campaign for office. A guaranteed loss. Get your senators, Republican or Democrat, to vote yes on the Save America Act. I will never, ever endorse anyone who votes against Save America. He said this. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I'm glad he said that. I will not endorse anybody if they vote against this. Well,
and that's a big deal considering what's happening.
Today I'm signing 2.
Yep.
So where do you think Cornyn's going to fall on this one? He's already signaled he's going to say yes, but do you see where this goes? Cornyn's looking for an endorsement.
Is he, you think?
Yeah. Now, I have several Texans in my chat room, and they're like, no, they can't stand him. They hate him completely.
I get it.
And I get it. I totally get it.
Too.
But he's not endorsed Paxton either. So there's 2 ways to look at that. Is he holding Cornyn's endorsement as a carrot, or do you see what I'm saying? To get, and he could rug pull and endorse Paxton after the vote goes through. I mean, they got till the 26th before one or the other has to pull out of that runoff.
Oh, is it the 26th of March?
The 26th of this month,
okay.
Yes.
All right.
So they got till the 26th before one has to pull out, otherwise it'll be too late. So, I mean, you can see this going a couple of different ways. Is he going to rug pull Cornyn? Well, that would make headlines.
No, that's a good point. By the way, this is I have an important note for everybody. As much as I and many of you guys like and appreciate Fetterman and his seemingly level-headedness, I just want you guys to know that he quite literally votes against, just voted against the bill that a whopping 85% of all Americans support. So, just so you know, Fetterman does vote with Dems 91% of the time.
Yes.
So if you think he's MAGA, I do appreciate him, and I think we'd be in trouble if Democrats were more like him.
Mm-hmm.
But he just voted against the Save America Act, by the way.
And you got to ask why. I think somebody should say, why did you vote against it? They've not given you.
You got to ask him why.
Yes.
Somebody's got to ask him why. Yeah.
Somebody has to ask him why. They've not given you a real reason to say that people couldn't get an ID.
Well, Mitch McConnell voted yes. And Susan Collins. By the way, Susan Collins, I got to tell you this. All right. Nobody campaigns better than Susan Collins.
No, she does do a good job. Yes.
It's unfreaking real. You cannot go on YouTube here in Maine without getting a Susan Collins ad in between every video you watch. And they're actually really good videos of people saying how she helped them out. There was somebody with diabetes, and oh my gosh, it was a college. Man, she's a force to be reckoned with.
She's got a great PR team.
Unfreaking believable. I'm just being
got the same thing going here in Virginia. Just to let you know.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Although I didn't see any for Jones, plenty for Spamberger.
Spamberger. So this
now it's all about redistricting. It's the only fair thing to do to upend the law we put in place for 1 year.
Virginia needs that bad.
Right.
Because she is capitalizing on that 1%, that 1 point victory.
She made by 1 point. But they're saying that the Republicans gerrymandered. They passed a law saying that it's got to go through this pretty hefty process to get the maps put through. She wants to upend that for 1 year. just to get through this 2026 cycle, and then we'll go back to the old map.
This bitch, man.
Right? I know.
Oh my gosh.
And it's, well, of course, we got early voting started March 6th. And of course, it's leaning Democrat because they tend to vote early.
Oh, I'm sorry, Feisty. I'm sorry you got to put up with the.
That ain't all we're putting up with. But I have a reason to be joyful.
Oh?
I have a reason to be joyful. So I was looking at what was going on here in Virginia, and I'm kind of curious. Why isn't Trump saying anything? He's painted her as a sanctuary governor, right? From her rebuttal to his State of the Union.
Okay.
But he's actually said very little until I started looking into things. And I'm like, holy shit. Trump is like, picture him like a tornado in a line storm where you got this big, massive area is under a tornado watch. And you don't know where they're going to pop up, but they just start popping up all over the place.
Yeah.
That's what Trump's been doing to Virginia. Virginia is spending all of their time and energy to defend against what Trump is doing to them.
Yeah. Oh, they're doing a bang-up job of it, too.
So,
because all the stuff still has to pass through legislation, so it's not... she can sign all the executive orders
Well, it was
she wants,
funny because they adjourned last week without passing our 26 to 28 budget, which is a huge issue. They adjourned over a deadlock over the they want to give tax incentives to like Amazon, all the data centers. Okay. So there's a deadlock in a Democrat-controlled legislature. There's a deadlock over tax incentives. So we don't have a budget. On top of that, the threat of pulling grant money from sanctuary cities looms over Virginia. It's an uncertainty, right? You hear the chaos theory coming up.
Yep.
It's an uncertainty because if the courts side with him over that, that's another couple $2 billion. The state's entire budget is wrapped up in litigation, just about. Then just keep adding to this. And because the disruption that's being caused, they're trying to defend through other angles. One of the tricks they tried to pull was to take over state control of Virginia Military Institute, which is a key institute that's used for training the senior officers in the military. And they claimed that there was a DEI issue. Remember, Trump is getting rid of DEI.
Yeah.
So what did Trump do? He changed the name of it and put it under federal control last week.
He hijacked it for her?
He hijacked it. It's no longer Virginia. I can't remember the name. He named it after somebody.
So why isn't he calling her out, though? Why isn't he calling out what's going on there?
Because what he's doing, because if he says anything, then you get the media machine, right?
Okay.
To put a spotlight on it. So now she's kind of frailing in the wind without a whole lot of media attention. Nobody's realizing what's going on here. He's literally a chaos engine for the leadership in Virginia.
So gotta fast forward and think about, okay, what could he stand to benefit by doing that?
His
leading up to
big goal
the midterms?
right now is to make sure that the 2026 map never makes it
That's
to the
right.
2026
Okay.
cycle. He doesn't even need to win the lawsuits. He doesn't have to win any
just
argument.
needs
What he's got to do is
delay tactics.
literally wrap her up in trying to keep government running. You've got a deadlock on the budget. You've got an uncertainty in the courts over the grant funding. You got a number of other things that he's been tossing out there. She's doing everything she can just to keep the government running. Now, another piece of chaos that we thought was a bad thing, but it's actually working in Trump's favor. Remember all of those, Virginia is home to the greatest number of federal workforce.
Mm-hmm.
We just had that major riff.
Yeah.
In fact, they kept the government closed until we got through the gubernatorial race.
It's
right?
probably the best job you can get in America is through the federal government. And that's a problem.
Well, it's good benefits. But nevertheless, she then, in the State of the Union rebuttal, promised that all those federal workers would have a job with the state. Well, if you don't have a budget and you lose your grant money, how do you pay for them?
How do you pay for it?
On top of that, there's about 100,000 federal workers that the administration is considering moving out into the regions. Okay?
Okay.
Those positions aren't your GS5s. These are high-paying positions.
Mm-hmm.
A huge tax base for Virginia.
Oh, boy.
100,000 people being pushed out into the states is another hit economically. So no matter which way this woman turns, she's got to keep the government running. She's using all of her political capital doing that. And there's so much uncertainty. We don't know where it goes. And like I said, Trump doesn't have to win any of these arguments. What is his tactic? Delay, delay, delay. So you just what you do is
right here.
whenever you're not busy, you throw a shock, right?
All right. It's just really hard. It's because that's almost something that a seasoned politician would do. And I guess you can make a case that Trump has become seasoned at this point, but it's hard to fathom. It's hard to really imagine
a seasoned politician or somebody that's accustomed to winning at negotiating. He's forcing her to have to work with the federal government. And there's already signs that that's beginning to happen.
Virginia residents are furious to find out newly elected Governor Abigail Spanberger is set to sign legislation that would reserve nearly 50% of all state contracts for minority-owned businesses while blocking white men from receiving any state contracts under $100,000.
Okay, so stop and think for a minute.
Racist.
Well, it is, but where does that go immediately?
It has to be passed by legislation.
It'll actually end up in the courts.
Good, I hope so.
But that's what her signing that into law. She wants it to go through the courts.
See, why would she want that?
She's part of the chaos.
All right, so I have this on one hand, okay? I have the chaos concept here on one hand. On the other hand, I'm asking myself, if I'm communist, I'm a communist party.
Is she the communist?
I don't know.
Or the people behind her the communists? We don't know that answer. We know she's CIA. But what does that mean anymore?
That's a good question. Because my question I would pose next is, okay, who's controlling the CIA now?
Radcliffe, obviously.
Is this, right. But is it actually Radcliffe? Is he controlling the whole of CIA, or are there still rogue factions of the CIA?
We don't know that answer. All I know is that Trump is making sure that Spanberger always has to react. Okay?
All right.
He's making sure that she is spending her time trying to keep the system going. She passes this into law, who would be suing her?
It'd be the federal,
federal government.
Which it should be the people.
Well, it won't be. It'll be the federal government. And I'm sorry. Give me 1 second.
Yep. Oh gosh. Hey, by the way, I see you out there, bro. Where is he? There's the beer at the parade. Who just raided? God bless you, Scott. Always good to see you out there, brother, and welcome in, Patriots. Guys, if you're not following Beer at the Parade, I would encourage y'all, give Scott and Beer at the Parade a follow on not just Rumble, but Pilled as well. Gotta help Scott. We're gonna get his numbers up there. Shout out to Beer at the Parade. And anybody who ever wants to jump on any stream, you want to get your voice out there, Scott will definitely platform you guys. So shout out to Scott.
Okay. So did you get what I was getting at?
Yes.
She's throwing some of his back at him. But what is it doing? It's wrapping us into this judicial process that is belabored and takes a while.
So Operation Show Your Ass a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, so if Trump is going to throw this stuff at her that's keeping her discombobulated, she'll throw a few things back.
Well,
you're literally watching the war between these two.
I mean, you can't get any more overtly communist than the wish list that she presented. Now,
she's not doing it alone, is my point.
Of course, it's
she's got a legislature
look at
that
Mom
passed
Donnie.
the bill that's doing this.
Yeah, look at Mom Donnie.
Yeah,
perfect example.
Virginia just passed a bill that prioritizes government contracts based on race and gender. The bill, HB 61, is now sitting on the governor's desk waiting to be signed. So here's what it does. It forces...
Oh, you know something that just hit me? It just hit me. Holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff only goes through when you have what? When you have a very complacent population. We have a very complacent constituency.
Virginia is complacent. It has been for a long time. Why?
Arguably one of the most complacent.
I know people that knee-jerk vote Democrat because they've bought in to the theory that if they vote for Republican, they'll lose their job.
All right, so if you look, if you're in the you're in the administration and you're embedded and you're trying to affect positive change, or say you're military intelligence and you're coordinating a lot of this, you're FORPOG or something, and you really want to change this, think bigger.
You got to get people to stand up.
Yeah, think bigger picture. You can't think, little small communities. You got to think the whole.
Well, the point I was making to someone
about wanting to solve this, you probably want to activate. You got to get people more involved.
But that's what's happening. Just so you know, I was making this point to somebody yesterday that this isn't just because you understand what Trump is doing to constantly throw the chaos doesn't mean stand down. It means now's the time to engage. Because while she's in a position, while the state is in a position not to be able to function appropriately as a government, which that's where we're at, then now is the time for the people to engage. And there are a number of counties. And another thing, she got rid of on her first day
is actually very red from what I hear.
Yes, and they're fighting back. And surprisingly, so is Fairfax County, which is very blue.
Yeah.
But there's another thing that happened. The first thing she did on her first day in office is to the what is it, the 287G, 257G, the agreements to work with the federal officials on immigration issues.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah.
She upended those. That was an executive order by Youngkin. What is the Trump administration doing? He's independently and directly working with each sheriff. Okay.
Yep.
Now that's a major issue for Virginia because the state controls what each of the counties do.
Right.
Here you've entered a bit of fragmentation into her governance. That's not a good thing. But he's literally working directly with sheriffs to reinstate those agreements.
The sheriffs know what time it is for the most part.
Yeah, they know what's going on. Yes.
Um,
So that's what I'm saying. What are we prepared to do here? Because they're, from the looks of things, they're ready to just blow it all up.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
implement straight up communism. And
Right.
see, that's my only concern. I'm not going to say, I shouldn't say it's my only concern, but it's my number one concern is that once communism is implemented, how's the saying go? You can vote your way in, but you got to shoot
You can't
your way
get
out.
out, right? And
Right.
you're there forever
So-
until there's a revolution. And I do think, and remember the impact of the rifts disproportionately affected Virginian citizens because the majority of the federal workforce lives in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got an angry workforce. This is the part that's beautiful. You got an angry workforce that voted against Trump that put her into office. Now they're angry
Only about one
because she
point.
told them, I'm going to employ you, and hasn't.
Oh. Hasn't or can't?
I don't know that she can. With what money?
Right.
And then she does this with the contracts. What she's going to do is put a lot of those people into those minority-owned contracts. I see where she's going. Does it work? Well, if the state can't even pass a budget, and what did Trump do to upend that part of it? They want to give special tax incentives to all of these companies that are building these data centers. Trump said, build your own energy. What does that do? Remember, this is a part of the grid. Virginia is a part of the grid, which has federal oversight. Any drain on the grid, the feds can come in because it's a national security. It's a national security threat. So there's nothing they can do without the feds coming in saying knock knock. And in the meantime, she's got to keep the government running.
So again, I'm perfectly willing to entertain the prospect that this is further operation show your ass. The only reason we haven't really gone to this in depth, or at least I haven't gotten this in depth with the operation show your ass concept because it's typically been very obvious.
Well, here's something that's a little more subtle.
Well, subtle, but in depth. And I'm going to also say, too, gonna take some time. I don't think this can happen overnight.
No, it doesn't happen overnight. But what is the goal? We got to get through the 26th. Their goal is to peel votes away. And Trump's goal is to get through that cycle.
Yeah. And
so
again,
he's gonna muck up the water as much as he can, which we're watching him do.
And did she really even win by 1 point?
Not a lot of people believe that.
Yeah. Thank you, Michelle, for the cookie. God bless you. And thank you to Beer at the Parade with the cookie. Says, love these two together. Hey, me too.
Thank you.
Shout out to Scott. And thank you again, P-Quest and Chris Doom, for the cookies as well. And that put who's taking home the lead. Wow, there's a two-way tie for the lead on the leaderboard. Catherine B. and Dixie have a two-way tie with Sean Joe is in third place with 300 gold bills. Let's see who takes home the lead tonight. Also,
I know. I appreciate it very much, Lee.
Yes. Also, saw this too. Democrat from Vigilant Fox. Democrat J.B. Pritzker reveals Democrats' plan for Project 2029. I usually get cringy when I hear anything called project with a year following. And how Democrats aim to jail Trump administration officials once they are in power. We've talked about this
That
before.
is not even a secret anymore.
Yeah. Lulu Garcia Navarro, what is a Project 2029 agenda look like for you? He says, I'll just say a couple of things that I think are absolutely necessary. One is we've got to restore the rule of law, as if it's not restarted already. And that means holding people accountable who broken the law. Can you give us a couple examples, JB? I'm talking about in this administration when we get a new one. No, so I guess you can't give any examples. People in this administration who've broken the law and federal agents who've broken the law need to be held accountable, he says.
Okay, so wait a minute, stop. What are you reading? Put it in a chaos theory. It's called a feedback loop.
Yeah.
It's designed to do one thing. Piss you off.
Piss you off. Yeah.
There's no solution. There's no outcome. There's
the
only thing it is
solution.
is that constant rhetoric, right?
They would argue this is their solution, but it's not a solution. I know
It's not a solution.
I know that.
He can't tell you what laws they broke. He can't tell you who they're talking about. They're saying they're thrown. This illegal administration is breaking the law.
Yeah.
They're not telling you by what means. So it's not, and then what does it do? It gets the rhetoric going over what laws could be broken, who he could be talking about.
Yep. Criminally prosecuted, civilly prosecuted, whatever it is that we can do, right? Question mark. It may be that you can't criminally prosecute somebody, but that you can go after them civilly.
Right.
And that you would need captured
well, remember,
judges. Holy
criminal
shit,
prosecution
Mitch with an EMP. Holy cow.
Thank you. Criminal prosecution
God bless you,
requires
bro.
evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. A civil prosecution requires only a preponderance of evidence.
That's right.
Much lower standard.
Yep.
And you'll notice the cases against Trump in New York, they were civil because of that. And all they needed was a bunch of people to say, he did. I'm telling the truth, so help me God. And it became a preponderance of evidence.
Shit gets old after a while still.
It does.
You know. Thank you again, Mitch. God bless you, bro. Seriously, for the EMP. My goodness.
Thank you so much.
And then also, we're going to go right up to 7 here. I got 2 from Rep.
I got
Luna.
one more thing. Did you see the new vaccine schedule? Remember, we got rid of the vaccine schedule? There's a judge that just blocked implementation to remove that childhood vaccine schedule. But it's the same judge that just hours earlier had been overturned by an appeals court over blocking deportations.
Really?
Yeah, so this particular judge...
Oh, Ash would like to hear this.
Yeah, I'll give you the link so you can share it.
Please.
This particular judge... Here you go. I pulled it down for you. Had blocked Trump's deportations. An appeals court overturned that. And then he goes in and he blocks the new vaccine schedule. This is easy to one.
What's the new vaccine schedule, though?
They got rid of most of the vaccines on the vaccine schedule.
Okay, yeah.
Childhood vaccine schedule.
Right.
We went down from 72 to, I think, 11.
This is Todd Blanche. He slammed a federal judge Monday for issuing a controversial order blocking the Trump administration's vaccine policies just an hour after an appeals court overturned the same judge's order blocking deportations. The same judge. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about with the civil cases. How are you going to compete? I mean, when you have, oh my gosh.
Okay, who fixes that problem?
Congress.
Hello? I'll remind everybody that Obamacare originally had tort reform in it. It was yanked
there
before
needs
they passed
to be
it.
tort reform.
But that's where this is going.
For anyone,
and we're running out of time. Let me get over the Britain thing. So what they did is, after 700 years, they decided you no longer can pass your title of Lord down to your kids. But in the process of doing this, to level out the makeup of the House of Lords, they granted, I think, 94 hereditary patronages to the conservative side to level out the makeup. So it's still a hereditary body, but now they can no longer pass on a hereditary membership. So
It still has to be voted.
It still has to be voted. What I said, somebody dropped this into when we were on one of the few times before.
Yeah.
And I said, this is a start, because what it does do is now that you're going to level out the body and get a more of a discussion or debate going, I do think you can expect to see more reforms, maybe even getting rid of hereditary altogether.
So
There's been a big issue.
They're going to be eliminating.
I think so.
It's already been in place.
Yeah, that's for 700 years.
Okay. Wow. Oh, look at that. Todd Blanche was just joined Katie Miller.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Did you also hear there was a judge?
If you want if everybody wants a good channel to follow, guys, and she asks amazing questions, she's probably one of the best interviewers I've come across, and that's Katie Miller. Who is Katie Miller? That's Stephen Miller's wife. And she's beautiful, and she just asks great questions.
She's actually very
I'll
good.
never forget the one she did with Dan Scavino and his new wife, Erin Elmore. I think they're
I like her a lot.
Yeah, she's amazing. She did a great one with Chamath and his wife. Even the Nicki Minaj one was great. She just did one with Liz Truss, Dr. Oz. She just dropped one. I'll play that one tonight on Todd Blanche, who gets into Epstein. There's going to be some great questions here. I'm telling you right now. I'm going to play that for tonight. So if anybody wants to kick it tonight for the news, I'll play that. So it's Deputy AG Todd Blanche on Jeffrey Epstein, his suspicious death, no charges, and
she's going to ask about the proffer, right?
Yes. I can't wait to listen to this.
I can't wait to hear it.
This is going to be, and it's just under an hour. So, guys, make sure you follow Kate. It's called Katie Miller Pod. All right.
She's very good.
Yep. Yeah, I'll drop the link to her channel.
She's very, very good.
And that brings us. Oh, look at the timing on that one. Look at that, Feisty.
So one last thing before you jump off.
Okay.
In New Jersey, a lawyer got tossed out of a hearing by the judge. The judge demanded that his bosses testify. He thinks Elena Haba still runs the New Jersey office.
Can you say that? Oh my gosh! Wait, can you say this again?
It was a prosecutor in a case.
Yeah.
And the guy had pleaded guilty, but the judge went ballistic, and he tossed the prosecutor out of his courtroom. Wants his bosses to testify. He believes Elena Haba still runs that.
The judge believes this?
Yes. Yes. Judge Qureshi, I can't say it, Quraishi, grew frustrated with the office's head of appeals, Mark Coyne, who had not formally disclosed that he would appear, and fiercely interrogated a more junior prosecutor about whether the former interim U.S. attorney Elena Haba still had some role in operating the office. I mean, we're going from this is now, it's surreal.
It's a belief, but he has no proof of it. This is a judge who has no proof of it.
In order to move forward in the case, he's demanding that the prosecutor's bosses testify before him.
Oh my gosh.
So in the meantime, this guy who
so he's conducting his own case.
Yes. He's making up a case.
Yeah, man.
So, and this is on a case where the guy admitted to having child porn. So we're not just talking.
Whoa.
Yes. So we have a judge. I mean, when you talk rogue, judges from the bench are determining what is and is not a case. And when they don't get enough coming their way, I guess they'll make one out of thin air.
Oh my gosh. That is sad and pathetic. I can't. Well, that tells me that He's probably a Kool-Aid drinker, though, too, at the same time. Because I do wonder how many of them actually drink the Kool-Aid and how many of them just do what they're told.
I don't even know. I don't even know.
All
I know is we need some serious fixes in this country.
No
and
shit.
if anything has taught us anything, between the 4 years of Darn Kessa Biden and the war we've been at since Trump came back in office, if we've learned anything, we got a lot of broke. A lot of things need to be fixed. No wonder why they need the American public to get on board with what's going on.
Yeah, and that was the other thing I was going to play tonight or today was the Senate would walk over broken glass to pass FISA.
Right.
Which is why FISA is the perfect vehicle to attach the Save America Act and force a vote, says Luna. No more excuses, no more delays. Attach it, pass it, and get voter ID done. Especially so it could be implemented before the midterms. Because I
don't think it will be.
The American people are sick and tired of the performative politics, by the way. We don't want a show vote. We want actual results, people.
Mm-hmm.
Save America Act. Deliver it. Let's fucking deliver it already. Thank you, Feisty, for joining. Thank you, as always. And apologies, everybody, for missing yesterday. Thank you, Feisty, for being understanding. We're going to go raid Ash and Beyond the Ashes right now. So, shout out to Ash. And I'll see you guys tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern for the news. And Feisty, I will see you on Friday?
Thursday this week.
Thursday. Yes, Thursday. For another segment of
Wait a minute.
Lifting the Veil. Wait.
Didn't we cancel last Thursday? Yeah. No, it's Friday.
It is Friday.
Yeah, Friday. It needed to be said.
We
had to cancel Thursday because of you.
Because of me. Because of this guy.
Yeah.
Yes. So this Friday, I will be seeing Feisty. We'll be having another It Needed to Be Feisty. This Friday
and
night.
tomorrow, I'm doing my regular live chat on my show.
Oh, love that. Yeah, guys, make sure you check out Feisty tomorrow. What time do you do that?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. Make sure you check that out because those are a banger. I have lurked a couple of them. And good to see that you're now streaming on Pilled. So
yeah, we're figuring out some.
Yeah, I got Matt's message the other night.
Help!
I hope it helped because I sent him a screenshot of what to put in there as well. So, but I see it looks like you guys got it now. But all right,
we're trying to figure it out. Have a very good night, everybody.
Yes.
Talk to you all soon.
Awesome. Good night, and I'll see you guys soon. God bless. Stay safe. Stay dangerous, Patriots. And go show Ash some love over on Beyond the Ashes. God bless.